CHPT 1. Beginning. Minato looked into a mirror. He was getting ready for the biggest moment in his life. He was going to ask the woman he loved to marry him. Sure, he was skipping the whole relationship thing, but he was sure about this. Minato had just become the new Hokage. The fourth Hokage to be exact. It was a little bit after the Shinobi War, and Minato wanted to settle down since he was Hokage. Minato wanted to start a family. Minato looked in the mirror. He was sure about this. Minato believed with all his heart that she was the woman he loved. "Mikoto, I love you," Minato said before shaking his head. "No, that's not it," Minato said. "Mikoto, accept my hand in marriage," Minato said, crouching on the floor holding out his hand. Minato stood up, shaking his head before sighing. "I'll just figure it out when I get there," Minato said. He had asked Mikoto to meet him at a restaurant she wanted to go to for a long time. It was a rather fancy restaurant, and Minato thought it was the perfect place for what he was going to ask Mikoto. Minato was going to ask Mikoto then and there to marry him, and prayed with all his heart she accepted. The two never had a more than a friend relationship. But he didn't care. Minato knew what he wanted, and he wanted Mikoto to marry him. Minato grabbed his coat as he walked out of the doors to the Namikaze compound. The restaurant was pretty fancy, so he wore a black tuxedo with a white shirt underneath, red tie, black pants, and black shoes. The regular for a big occasion such as this. Minato walked down the road, greeting everyone back who had greeted him. Minato turned a corner onto a street filled with people. I guess you could say this was the area where the wealthy people would be at, as people had on fancy suits and dresses. Minato looked down the road to see the restaurant as he picked up the pace a bit. A few minutes later he arrived as he looked at the restaurant through the glass. Minato gulped. It looked way too fancy for a guy like him. "Minato," a feminine voice called. Minato turned to his right as his eyes widened. Mikoto stood there, her hair flowing down the sides of her face with a little curl at the end. She had on a black dress that was a little tight enough to show all of her curves and assets, but long as the dress went to the ground. She also had on black heels as she looked at Minato, smiling. "You look great, Minato," Mikoto complimented. Minato stood still, not saying a word. He was just staring at Mikoto in awe. Mikoto blushed under his gaze. "And Minato," Mikoto said. Minato seemed to snap out of his daze as he looked at her. "Why, sorry about that," Minato said, rubbing the back of his head awkwardly. "I tried to look my best, but I didn't know I had that effect," Mikoto said, smiling. Minato chuckled before smiling. "Honestly though, you look great," Minato complimented. Mikoto's smile widened. "Thank you," Mikoto said, accepting the compliment. Minato opened the door to the restaurant. "After you," Minato said as Mikoto chuckled. "You're such a gentleman," Mikoto said as she walked in, followed by Minato. A lady stood at the entrance with a clipboard. "UAR. Onamikaze-sama, please go right in," the lady said, stepping out of the way. Minato smiled as he nodded and walked through. "Your reputation with the villagers is quite convenient," Mikoto said, chuckling. Minato shrugged. "It comes in handy sometimes," Minato said, smiling. The waiter showed the two to their table as the two ordered, then conversed as they waited. I would have never thought I would have retired as a ninja at the age I am," Mikoto said. Minato nodded. "You were very talented though," Minato said. A few minutes later the two were eating as Mikoto was talking. "So there I was facing off against 3 jonin backed up on a tree with only 1 kunai, an explosion tag, and a tiny bit of chakra," Mikoto said. Minato stopped eating as he looked at Mikoto. "2 of them rushed me, but the other one stayed back, so I ran into the forest behind me," Mikoto said. "I hid in a tree with the kunai as I had just placed the explosion tag, making sure it burned slowly," Mikoto said. Minato was intrigued as he ate his steak. "One of them came walking up and I jumped down silently and slit his throat," Mikoto stated. "But unfortunately the other one had saw me as he rushed me. We got in a taijutsu battle. He was winning for the most part," Mikoto said as she went on. "But I blocked his punch with my right arm and punched him in his face twice before spinning around and knocking him into the explosion tag I placed earlier as it exploded," Mikoto said. Minato smiled. Her tactics were nothing short of amazing. "I then went back to the other guy and went through hand signs and unleashed the biggest fireball jutsu ever," Mikoto stated. "He also went through hand signs for a water jutsu, but I expected that as I appeared on the side of him and stabbed him in the head with my kunai," Mikoto said. Minato clapped lowly. Yeah, this wasn't the type of conversation people would normally have over dinner. But Minato enjoyed every bit of it. Minato took a deep breath as he got on the ground, looking at Mikoto. I'm sure of this, Minato thought. Mikoto looked at Minato with a questioning look. What or why dash? Mikoto's words were cut short as Minato began to speak. Mikoto, I know we haven't got into the girlfriend-boyfriend stage of the relationship yet, but I'm sure with all my heart and soul that you are the one for me, Minato stated. Mikoto's eyes widened. Was this really happening? And even if you decline or can't return my feelings, I have to let these feelings out, Minato said. Mikoto lifted her hands up to her mouth as Minato pulled a small box out of his tuxedo pocket. Mikoto Uchiha, I love you. Will you take my hand in marriage? Minato asked as he opened up the box to show the shining of a diamond ring. Mikoto was starstruck. She didn't imagine in a million years this would have happened to her. She could remember the first time she met Minato. Flashback. A young Minato walked through the academy, greeting everybody. Mikoto eyed him from her locker. She had been watching him for a long time. She didn't know what to think of him. Not trying to impress anybody, rather calm and happy. A much-needed refresher from all the other boys. She closed her locker to see none other than Aizu standing in front of it smiling. Mikoto-chan, you didn't come to the movies the other day, Aizu said. He was on the heavier side and much taller than everybody in the class. His height brought fear to the other classmates, which made him cocky. So Aizu was a big bully with long blonde hair. And he had this crush on Mikoto, which she knew of, but he was too aggressive and his emotions would change in an instant. Not really her type, so she would avoid him at any chance. I didn't want to come, Mikoto said as she started walking. Aizu frowned. You never come when I invite you, Aizu said, following her. Mikoto shrugged, holding her books. I've told you before, Aizu, I don't see you in that way, Mikoto said. Aizu growled as he grabbed her hand. You're going to be my girlfriend, Aizu said like it was an order. Mikoto looked up at him with a neutral look. You can't make me do anything, Mikoto said as she pushed Aizu away. Aizu looked at her with anger. You're lucky that I even consider you as an option, Aizu said, smirking cockily. Mikoto scoffed. I'm sure you have more options than, Mikoto said as she pushed his hand off of her. Aizu put his hand on Mikoto's shoulder, pulling her back. Stop touching me, Mikoto ordered. Aizu ignored her. You act all high and mighty, but you know you want me as a boyfriend, Aizu said, grinning. Mikoto looked disgusted as she kicked Aizu away from her in his chest. I told you stop touching any, Mikoto said. Aizu growled in rage as he rushed at her with his fist cocked back. Suddenly an arm grabbed Aizu by the collar and lifted him up. Minato stood there. Were you actually going to hit a girl? Minato asked. Minato. No, I would never, Aizu said in fear. Mikoto looked at Minato. She could have handled it herself, but she appreciated the effort. Hey, I'll walk you to class so you could feel safer, Minato said, letting go of Aizu. Mikoto smiled as she nodded. Flashback end. And they had been hanging out ever since. She had feelings for Minato for years, but didn't think he would return her feelings and didn't want to ruin the friendship they had. So she had kept it all to herself, but now he was asking for her hand in marriage. Tears of joy welled up in Mikoto's eyes as she leaped onto Minato, hugging him. Yes, Minato, Mikoto yelled in joy. Minato looked stunned for a second. He thought the total opposite would happen. He snapped out of it as he smiled widely and hugged her back. A few years later, Mikoto yelled in pain as she pushed with all her might. She breathed heavily. One more push, the doctor said. You can do it, Mikoto, Minato said encouragingly. Mikoto squeezed his hand as she pushed harder. She soon heard crying as the baby wailed. It's a boy, ma'am, the doctor said as he handed her the baby boy. Minato grabbed a camera out of his bag. He wanted to capture this moment on camera. Smile, Minato said as Mikoto looked up smiling. The baby looked at Minato with his foot in his mouth, laughing. Flash. The name, ma'am? The doctor asked. Mikoto grew silent as she thought for a second. She wanted something original, but not too original. A name that she liked, a name the crowds would roar. Roar, that was it. Naruto, Mikoto said. Naruto Uchiha Namikaze, Mikoto stated. The doctor nodded as he wrote it down. The name Naruto meant maelstrom, roaring gate, and it kind of rolled off the tongue. Minato smiled. That's a great name, Mikoto, Minato said. Mikoto nodded and smiled as she looked down and played with Naruto in her arms. Can they come in now, doctor? Minato asked. The doctor nodded as he walked out of the door. A few minutes later, a group of 4 entered. Hiruzen, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Shizune. They all crowded around the bed. looking at the baby in awe. Jiraiya looked at Minato with a thumbs up as Minato chuckled. "Oh, what's his name?" Tsunade asked. Mikoto looked down at her child with a smile. "Naruto, Uchiha Namikaze," Mikoto said. "Sheesh, that's a bit long," Jiraiya said. Tsunade growled as she punched him in the top of the head, causing a knot to appear. The baby laughed at the two with a wide smile as he played with his foot. Tsunade's eyes lit up. "He's so cute," Tsunade said as she started tapping his chest with her index finger. The baby giggled as he grabbed her finger. "He likes you," Mikoto said. Tsunade smiled brightly. As Jiraiya chuckled, "We all know why," Jiraiya said, grinning pervertedly. Tsunade punched him in the face, sending him flying into a wall. "Don't say such things around the baby. We don't want him ending up like you," Tsunade said as the room laughed. Jiraiya's leg twitched as he laid on the ground. Somewhere in Konoha, Kushina went through hand signs, her red hair flaring behind her. "Katan. Gakakyu no Jutsu." Kushina yelled before she breathed out an enormous flame towards the mysterious person. The mysterious masked man jumped onto a tree before leaping head first into the stream of fire. Kushina was still in midair as suddenly the masked man emerged from the fire and grabbed her arm, before heaving her towards the ground. Kushina gasped in pain as she hit the ground with tremendous force. Before she could even get up, the masked man came crashing down onto her stomach. Kushina's eyes bulged out of her sockets in pure agony as she coughed up blood. "It would have been painless if you had just surrendered," the masked man stated as he picked Kushina up by her neck. Kushina growled in anger. "Why are you doing this?" Kushina yelled. The masked man chuckled. "It's the perfect time to do it, actually," the masked man stated. "There are 2 points in a Jinchuriki's life where the seal is at its weakest," the masked man stated. Kushina's eyes widened. "He's after you, Kyubi," Kushina thought. The Kyubi growled in her mind. The man had slapped a sealing tag on her right at the beginning of the battle, so he couldn't give Kushina any power. "The first, when a Jinchuriki is giving birth," the masked man said. "And the second is when their emotions are going wild," the man stated. Kushina's eyes widened. "That is also when the tailed beasts are able to control you. When your emotions are going wild," the masked man said. "For example, if your friend dies in front of you, you're angered, saddened, and can't believe it. And that's exactly when they take control of you," the masked man said before he smiled behind his mask. "But in your case, it's your one and only true love being taken away from you by your own best friend," the masked man said. Kushina kicked off of him, jumping away and out of his grasp. "You felt anger, sadness, heartbreak, and most of all betrayed," the masked man said. "Shut up," Kushina yelled in anger. It was all true. The love of her life, Minato Namikaze, had married and just had his first child with her best friend Mikoto Uchiha. Sure, they didn't know of her feelings, but she loved that man with all her heart. "That is why I'm here. While your emotions are going crazy, it's the perfect time to extract the Kyubi," the masked man said before he disappeared and reappeared in front of Kushina in an instant. Kushina's eyes widened in fear before she hit the ground. At the hospital, Tsunade and Shizune were both smothering the baby with love and affection. "You're so cute," Tsunade said, touching his head. Shizune tickled Naruto on his belly as he giggled madly. Boom. A sudden tremendous boom went off as the hospital trembled. Screams and cries were heard as the group looked confused. Hiruzen rushed to the window, peeking through the blinds. His eyes widened in horror. "What's going on?" Jiraiya asked before rushing over there. Jiraiya's eyes also widened as he turned to the group. "It's the Kyubi," Jiraiya yelled. Everybody in the room eyes widened. Jiraiya, evacuate the hospital. Tsunade and Shizune go with Mikoto and Naruto and take them somewhere safe, Hiruzen ordered. They all nodded as Jiraiya sped out of the room. Tsunade picked up Mikoto over her back since she couldn't walk because of the exhaustion from the pregnancy. Hiruzen turned to Minato. "Go find Kushina. She has to be around here," Hiruzen said. Minato nodded. "I know exactly where she's at. I have a seal marking on her," Minato said before he flashed away. With Kushina. Kushina laid on the ground, struggling for breaths. Flash. Minato appeared in front of her as he rushed towards her side. Minato's eyes widened in horror. "Kushina!" Minato yelled, looking down at her. Kushina was struggling to breath. Her neck had been sliced open. Tears flowed down her eyes as she knew what was coming next. Death. Kushina, you're going to be all right. Minato yelled as he held her. Kushina's eyes started to open and close slowly. Stay with me, Kushina, you're going to live, Minato said. Her eyes closed as her throat gave off gargling sounds before her body went limp. Tears flowed down Minato's face. Who would do this? And to a nice girl like Kushina. Minato gritted his teeth in anger. In the hospital. Flash. Hiruzen turned around when he heard the familiar flashing sound of the Harishin Jutsu. But he didn't expect to see what he saw as Hiruzen turned to see Minato holding a dead Kushina. Minato looked down with sadness in his eyes. Someone killed her, Minato said. Hiruzen looked at Kushina, then back at Minato. This was horrible. But after the host is killed, the tailed beast doesn't appear for another 4 years, Hiruzen said, confused. Minato nodded. Someone had to have extracted it from her, then slice her throat, Minato deduced. A roar went off in the distance. Minato sat Kushina on the bed. Don't worry, Hokage Dano. I'll take care of it, Minato said. He then flashed away in a spark of yellow lightning as Hiruzen sat in silence looking at Kushina in sadness. With Tsunade. Tsunade jumped across the trees carrying Mikoto, followed closely behind by Shizune carrying Naruto. Demonic roars went off in the background as Naruto cried, loudly yelling. Shizune tried to calm Naruto down while Tsunade looked over towards the Kyuubi. A pair of Manjikyu Sharingan were in its eyes as she could see Gamabunta, the toad summon that Minato and Jiraiya would summon. She also saw yellow flashes going around the Kyuubi's body. Minato's really giving it his all, Tsunade said. Mikoto smiled weakly. He better not die or I'll kill him again in the afterlife. Mikoto joked as Tsunade chuckled. Boom. The ground shook as they all turned to see the Kyuubi dropping to the ground with pillars binding it up. Suddenly Minato flashed in front of them. Minato? What are you doing here? You're supposed to be fighting the Kyuubi, Tsunade said. Minato shook his head. I'm just a clone. I've been sent here to get Naruto, the clone of Minato stated. Mikoto raised an eyebrow. Why? Mikoto asked weakly as she narrowed her eyes at him. Minato's sweat dropped. Boss just has to seal the Kyuubi into the baby, the clone of Minato said as he muttered the last part. What? Mikoto asked. Minato looked down slightly. He just has to seal the Kyuubi into Naruto, Minato said in a normal voice. Mikoto's eyes widened. What? Mikoto yelled. Minato flinched in fear. Please, Mikoto, he's the only one boss can seal it into, Minato stated. Mikoto looked at the clone in anger. I know what Jinchurikis go through him, not having Naruto go through that, to Mikoto said. As being close with Kushina, she heard all her childhood stories after moving to Konoha. He'll be viewed as a hero for saving this village, Minato stated. Mikoto grew quiet. He was the only newborn, so if they didn't seal it inside of Naruto, the beast would rampage again. Fine, Mikoto said quietly. The clone of Minato smiled as he grabbed Naruto from Shizune and flashed away. Wait to seal a tailed beast into anybody, you have to do the Reaper death seal, Tsunade said looking at Mikoto. Mikoto's eyes widened. Was this the last day she was going to see Minato? With Minato. The clone of Minato flashed in front of the Kyuubi who was roaring, as Naruto screamed in fear. Don't worry, Naruto. It'll be over in a little, the real Minato said as the clone poofed. Suddenly Hiruzen jumped out of the woods. Minato! Hiruzen yelled. Minato turned to Hiruzen with a confused expression. What are you planning to do? Hiruzen asked. Minato smiled. Sacrificing myself. For the village, Minato said. Hiruzen's eyes widened. What about Naruto? Hiruzen asked. Minato nodded. He'll have Mikoto, Minato said. Hiruzen shook his head. You can't do this, Minato. You're the new Hokage of this village. Think about what you're doing, Hiruzen pleaded. Minato shook his head. I'm sorry, Hokage Dano, but there's nothing you can do to change my mind, Minato said. Hiruzen fell silent. Suddenly Hiruzen appeared behind Minato with a burst of inhuman speed. Hiruzen delivered a chop to Minato's neck as Minato then dropped to the ground with a thud. You're this village's future, Minato. Besides, I've lived long enough, Hiruzen said as he went through hand signs. As then a loud roar was heard. CHPT 2. The Namikaze family. 6 years later. A 6-year-old Naruto stood outside with Mikoto. Naruto threw a kunai in the air before going through hand signs. Naruto clapped his hands together. Futon, Yatama Furo Seigyo. Naruto yelled. The air currents pushed the kunai, making it go faster. go to the left, Mikoto instructed. Sweat rolled down Naruto's head as the kunai slowly turned to the left. Right, Mikoto ordered. Slowly the kunai turned to the right. Now speed it up even more, Mikoto said. The wind picked up around the kunai as it sped downwards to Naruto, who caught it. Mikoto smiled proudly at Naruto as she ruffled his hair a bit. Naruto had just begun his training. Minato and Mikoto would take turns on different days training him, as today was Mikoto's turn. Mikoto was strict in her training. She wanted Naruto to be strong, but she didn't want to push him too hard. They were now focusing on Naruto's wind control. The jutsu Naruto was just using was a simple jutsu used to practice and eventually master the art of wind control. Good job, Naruto, Mikoto said, smiling. Naruto smiled back. Naruto had been training for about a month now, and it was all about chakra control and jutsu. Naruto had learned a few jutsu, but they were useful. Naruto stood up as he got ready. All right, Naruto, you see that, dummy? Mikoto asked. Naruto nodded. Just show me anything, Mikoto stated. Naruto smiled as he flipped the kunai in his hand. Naruto sped through hand signs, Raiton, Reiku Kauzen no Jutsu. Naruto yelled as he held out his hand. A large, powerful lightning beam came out of Naruto's hand as it ripped up the ground, blasting dirt everywhere as it sped towards the dummy. A large boom was heard as the beam hit the dummy, and lightning sparked everywhere. Naruto turned to Mikoto, who had her eyes widened. Naruto, how do you know that jutsu? Mikoto asked in a calm voice that put Naruto off. Dad, Naruto stated, a little scared. Mikoto growled in anger as she went into the house with Naruto following behind her. Naruto grew worried. When Mikoto was mad, she was furious. Naruto prayed that his had lived. Mikoto slammed her hand onto the kitchen table, cracking it, as Minato jolted. You taught our son an B-rank jutsu? Mikoto asked, enraged. Minato's sweat dropped as he looked at Mikoto. And Mikoto, hold on. Now let's not do anything we'll regret, Minato said, holding up his hand. A Sharingan spun in Mikoto's eyes as a dark aura filled the room. And you? When you asked to learn a B-rank jutsu, I told you no, Mikoto said, looking at Naruto. Naruto's sweat dropped. What makes you think you can go behind my back and learn it? Mikoto asked angrily. Wait, Mom, let's not point the finger at me. Dad taught me it. Naruto said, pointing at Minato. Minato's jaw dropped as Mikoto turned to Minato. Wait, Mikoto he asked me to, Minato said, pointing towards Naruto. Naruto turned to his dad in fear as their eyes seemed to speak to each other. Dad, you're selling me out? Naruto said with his eyes. You did it first. Minato responded. Mikoto cracked her knuckles. You both had parts in it, Mikoto said as she leaped towards Minato. Minato screamed in pain as Naruto's eyes widened before he started running. Suddenly, Mikoto appeared behind him as he ducked a hit. Tears filled Naruto's eyes. Dear Kami, help me, Naruto thought as he tried to run faster. Naruto turned a corner as his eyes widened. A dead end. Naruto turned around to see Mikoto walking towards him. Wait, Mom, Naruto yelled. Wait, no. Naruto yelled as yells of pain came from the Namikaze compound from both Minato and Naruto. A few hours later, Minato laid on the couch, knots covering his head as he groaned. You sell out, Naruto muttered. Minato turned to Naruto, who was laying on the ground. If I have to feel her wrath, you do too, Minato said. Ding dong. The doorbell rang as Naruto went to the front door. Naruto opened it to see some of his friends. Hey Naruto, Kiba said with a toothy grin. Naruto smiled. Hey guys, what are you all doing here? Naruto asked. Our moms are having a picnic together, and we wanted to know if you and your mom wanted to come, Ino chimed in. Hold on, I'll go ask, Naruto sighed as he walked into a room. Mikoto sat on her bed comfortably. Mom, Naruto called as Mikoto turned to him. There's this picnic for moms and their kids, and my friends asked if we were coming, Naruto explained. Mikoto's eyes widened as she stood up quickly. Oh, that's today? Hurry, Naruto, get in the shower and put on some clothes, Mikoto said as Naruto nodded, smiling. Naruto went to the door. We're getting ready, Naruto said as the group nodded. We'll be waiting at the park, Sakura said, waving as Naruto waved back. 30 minutes later, Naruto stepped outside, the sun beaming on him and his mother. You ready, Naruto? Mikoto asked. Naruto smiled and nodded. They both were matching. Naruto had on a yellow shirt with the small Uchiha crest by the shoulder of the shirt. Naruto also had on black ripped jeans and yellow running shoes. Mikoto had on a yellow sundress, and Yellow Sun had her black hair curled all the way through and some flip-flops on her feet. Naruto smiled. The day was beautiful. Mikoto closed the door of the Namikaze compound. "Let's go," Mikoto said. The two walked down, and out of the gate walking down the street Naruto saw a familiar face. "Sasuke," Naruto called as he ran over to the black-haired Uchiha. Sasuke turned as he smiled. "Hey Naruto," Sasuke greeted. The two jumped towards each other, bumping shoulders as they landed, and started to do a handshake. Mikoto smiled as she walked up. "Hello Nyamai," Mikoto greeted. Nyamai turned around as she smiled at Mikoto warmly. Nyamai was Sasuke's mom, full name Nyamai Uchiha. She was also Fukaku's wife. "Are you two going to the mother-children picnic?" Mikoto asked. Nyamai smiled and nodded. "We were just heading there," Nyamai stated. "We can all walk together," Sasuke suggested. Naruto nodded. "Yeah, that sounds like a good plan to me," Naruto said, chiming in. The two mothers chuckled. "They're almost like brothers," Nyamai said as Mikoto nodded. "Our children were just switched at birth," Mikoto joked as Nyamai laughed. "Say Sasuke, are you training yet?" Naruto asked. Sasuke nodded as he whispered to Naruto. "Dad taught me AB rank fire jutsu," Sasuke whispered. Naruto smiled. "My dad did too, but it was lightning," Naruto whispered. Sasuke smiled. "What if we become ninjas and become the most powerful in the world?" Sasuke said. Naruto nodded. "Or to ever live," Naruto stated. "Man, I can't wait to become a ninja," Sasuke said. "I'm gonna be Rookie of the Year," Sasuke said. Naruto shook his head. "I'll be stronger than you, so I'll be Rookie of the Year," Naruto stated, as if it was obvious. "We'll see about that," Sasuke said as they both laughed. "Boys, you go over there and play with the kids," Nyamai said, pointing to the group of kids. They both nodded as they ran off. The group of kids turned around to see Naruto and Sasuke. "Yo guys," Kiba stepped up as he held both of his hands out. They did this every time. Sasuke slapped Kiba's hand, followed by Naruto. "I won." Sasuke yelled in victory. Naruto sighed in defeat. "You got lucky," Naruto stated. Naruto laid down on the ground, catching his breath. Naruto then sprung up. "Now guys, what are we doing first?" Naruto asked. "Freeze tag," Ino suggested as everybody nodded. "Guys, I think I'll just sit this one out," Shikamaru said. Naruto sighed. "Shikamaru, you've been sitting out for weeks," Naruto said. Shikamaru laid on the grass, letting out a satisfied groan. "If you don't play, I'll tell your mom you're being lazy," Naruto said, smirking. A sudden expression of fear came across Shikamaru's face before he switched it with a smile. "I already asked her, can I sit out?" Shikamaru stated. Naruto smirked. "Let me just go make sure," Naruto said as he sprinted off. Shikamaru's head snapped up as he looked at Naruto in fear. "Wait, Naruto, wait," Shikamaru said as he chased after him. Shikamaru groaned in annoyance as he had convinced Naruto not to tell and that he'll play. "All right." "Not it," Naruto suddenly said. Noddits went off around the group as the only one who didn't say it was Hinata. Hinata blushed, as now she would have to chase everyone. "Come on Hinata, come chase me," Kiba said as he wiggled his butt in front of her face. Hinata looked up at him shyly before she ran at him in a burst of speed. Kiba's eyes widened as Akamaru yipped loudly. Kiba laid still in an uncomfortable position. "Come on Hinata, could you at least put me in a more comfortable position?" Kiba asked. Hinata shook her head as she ran off towards the other ones as they screamed, running away. Later, the group of moms and children had just finished eating sandwiches, chips, juices, and candy. They all laid down, bellies popping out of their shirt. "Man, that was good," Ino said, sighing in satisfaction. "Wow, Ino, you ate a lot," Sakura said as she poked Ino's belly. Ino let out a loud burp as she blushed. The group of kids laughed. "You guys ate a lot," Ino stated. Naruto patted his stomach. "Yup, but who can blame me? That sandwich was good," Naruto stated. Choji drooled. The lettuce, tomato, mayo, mustard, spicy barbecue chips, and the ice-cold juices, Choji said as everyone laughed. "I'll just take a nap, Yunright. Here," Naruto said as he slowly drifted off to sleep as the sun set. The group slowly followed as the moms sighed. "They look so cute, Kiba's mom said, smiling. "I thought you would have woke him up and make him do push-ups for every minute it takes before he gets home, Mabuki," Sakura's mom joked as the group laughed. I'll just carry Naruto home, Mikoto said as she picked Naruto up gently. They'll see you all later, Mikoto said, waving as the group of moms waved and said goodbye. At the Namikaze compound, Mikoto entered the house as she closed and locked the door quietly. Minato got up from the couch as Mikoto put her finger up to her lips, telling him to shush. Minato nodded. Mikoto went into Naruto's room, setting him under the covers as she kissed him for head. She silently closed the door as she went into the kitchen. Naruto tired himself out, huh? Minato asked as Mikoto nodded. Speaking of tired, I hope you're not, Mikoto said as Minato looked confused. Naruto's in bed sleeping, and I have a sound suppression seal, Mikoto said, grinning. Minato's eyes widened as he hurriedly went into the room. Mikoto laughed at his eagerness as she followed behind him and closed the door, putting the sound suppression on the inside of the door. Chapter 3. Intense Training Part 1. A week later, Naruto got up from bed as he stretched. He opened up his curtains, letting the sun shine through as it beamed on the floor and part of his bed. The sun was beautiful. Naruto looked outside to his backyard. The Namikaze backyard was huge and had a forest right behind it. Naruto smiled. He didn't know why, but for some reason he was infatuated with the woods and nature in general. Naruto shrugged. Maybe he was just an outdoorsy type of person. Naruto walked out of his room, going to the living room. Naruto heard the sizzling of a pan and the smell of pancakes. Naruto smiled as he ran into the kitchen. Mikoto, hearing Naruto, turned around. You're up earlier than usual, Mikoto said, smiling. Naruto nodded as he sat in a chair at the kitchen table. I wanted to wake up bright and early for today to train, Naruto said. Mikoto smiled as she flipped a pancake. You still have that goal? Mikoto asked. Naruto gave her a toothy grin. Yup, Naruto said. Flashback. Naruto was 4 years old as he held a toy katana. Today was Halloween and Naruto wanted to dress up as a ninja. He's in love with ninjas, Mikoto said, smiling. Minato nodded. Just wait until he gets into the academy. He'll be talking about being a ninja all day, every day, Minato stated. Mikoto's sweat dropped. Naruto was the type of boy to actually do that. Mikoto put on a little ninja mask over Naruto. Say, Naruto, why do you like ninjas so much? Mikoto asked. Naruto smiled under the mask. Because, Mom, I can do all those cool jutsus and put bad guys in prison, Naruto stated. But most of all, I want to be a ninja, so I can one day be the strongest ninja to ever live, Naruto said, smiling. Nobody can touch me, Naruto said. Mikoto chuckled. You know, being the strongest to ever live doesn't come easy, Mikoto said. Naruto nodded. I know, but I'll work hard for it, Naruto said as he smiled. Flashback end. Well, you better get ready, cause some special guests are going to help you, Mikoto said, smiling. Naruto looked confused. Who? Naruto asked curiously. Mikoto shook her head. Can't tell, it's a surprise, but they should be here a little after breakfast, Mikoto stated. Naruto groaned. I hate surprises, Naruto muttered. Minato walked out of his and Mikoto's room. Minato said, smelling the fantastic aroma of breakfast. Naruto chuckled. His father absolutely loved breakfast. Mikoto smiled. Hope you're both hungry. I made extra, Mikoto stated. Naruto licked his lips. He was going to be stuffed until dinner. 30 minutes later, Naruto laid on the couch. There was nothing better than eating a delicious meal, getting full, and then relaxing right after. Mikoto looked at Naruto, who was spread out on the couch, as she chuckled. Ding dong. Mikoto smiled. She knew exactly who it was. I wonder who that is, Mikoto said as she pretended to not know anything. Naruto, could you get that for me, Mikoto asked. Naruto nodded as he slowly got off the couch. Naruto waddled over to the door. He was way too full even to walk correctly. Naruto creaked the door slightly before opening it fully. Naruto's eyes widened in surprise. Grandma Tsunade. Naruto yelled as he ran to Tsunade and hugged her. Tsunade smiled as she returned his hug. Naruto had met Tsunade 3 times before when she had visited. The two released each other. Did you miss me? Tsunade asked, grinning. Naruto nodded quickly. How long are you staying? Naruto asked. He wanted Tsunade to stay for at least a month, but he knew that was way too much to ask for. I'm staying a week, Tsunade stated. Naruto smiled as he then heard footsteps coming up the stairs. Shizen came up the stairs carrying 2 suitcases. Big sis Shizen, Naruto called. Naruto knew Shizen was with Tsunade. She went everywhere Tsunade went. Shizen sat down the suitcases. "Hello, Naruto-san," Shizen greeted as the two hugged. "Are you cooking for me this time, big sis Shizen?" Naruto asked. Shizen chuckled. "I'll cook as soon as possible, Naruto-san," Shizen stated. Naruto jumped in the air in happiness. Shizen was one of the best cooks he ever tasted. The best being his mom, but Shizen could cook very good. Naruto remembered when she cooked dinner. They had a feast. "Oh, I brought you a present," Tsunade said as she had almost forgotten. Naruto smiled as he wondered what he was going to get. Tsunade dug in a bag as she got something out of it. Tsunade held a red necklace in her hand. Naruto stared at it in awe. It had the shape of Tsunade's necklace, but thicker and taller as it was dark red. Tsunade smiled. Naruto seemed to like it very much. Well, based on the expression on his face. "This necklace is one of the prized possessions of the Land of Fire," Tsunade stated. "Why is it a prized possession?" Naruto asked curiously. Tsunade smirked proudly. "This necklace can enhance your fire jutsu," Tsunade stated. "Say for instance if you release a fire jutsu, if any kind. This necklace will increase the temperature, the potency and destruction of the jutsu to a whole other level," Tsunade stated. Naruto stared in awe. Whenever he got done with his wind jutsu training, he would move on to fire. And now, whenever he learned a fire jutsu, it would be way more powerful. Man, when he became a shinobi, bad guys would run. Tsunade opened the strings of the necklace as she put it over his head and placed it onto his neck. "You look so cute," Tsunade said, smiling. Naruto grinned as he looked down at the necklace. Yawn. A yawn went off behind them as footsteps were then heard. Everybody turned to see Jiraiya standing there. Naruto looked at Jiraiya in surprise as he ran up to him. Jiraiya was caught off guard as Naruto jumped into his arms, hugging him. Jiraiya chuckled. "Sorry I'm late, had a little predicament." Jiraiya apologized, rubbing the back of his head. Tsunade rolled her eyes. "Did the predicament involve you peeking on women?" Tsunade asked. Jiraiya's sweat dropped. "Was he that much of a perv?" "No, it involved my spy network," Jiraiya said. Tsunade nodded. "Sure," Tsunade said with a little sarcasm behind her voice. Jiraiya ignored it. "All right, kid, you ready for our training tomorrow?" Jiraiya asked, ruffling up his hair. Naruto looked at him confused as multiple sounds of people smacking their own head went off. Jiraiya looked confused before blushing in embarrassment. "Oh, did you not tell him yet?" Jiraiya asked, but the answer was obvious to him. "Well, now that the perv released the other surprise, I guess I'll tell you," Tsunade said, glaring at Jiraiya as Jiraiya held his hands up. "We're training you while we're here," Tsunade stated. Naruto's eyes lit up. Tsunade and Jiraiya were the legendary Sannin, or whatever you call it, and he heard stories told by them of how strong they were. "Thank you," Naruto said as he hugged them both. Jiraiya and Tsunade smiled simultaneously as they returned his hug. Later that night, Naruto couldn't go to sleep. He was twisting and turning around in his bed, trying his best. Naruto knew he wouldn't be able to train if he was tired. And what made it worse, Tsunade was snoring loudly from the guest room beside his. And the walls weren't even thin, they were actually pretty thick. Naruto sighed as he closed his eyes and put pillows over his ears. The next day, Naruto had just got done eating breakfast about 3 hours ago. He was jumping in his seat on the couch in excitement. Naruto had exactly 30 seconds until it was time to start training. Yes, Naruto was so excited he was counting the seconds. 3, 2, 1. A loud bell rang as Tsunade stood up. "All right, Squirt, you ready?" Tsunade asked. Naruto sprung off of the couch as he looked at Tsunade. "Yup," Naruto said excitedly. Tsunade smiled. "Well, let's go," Tsunade said as she walked out the door of the compound, followed very closely behind by Naruto. They walked out to the backyard as Naruto saw multiple dummies on the ground. Naruto looked up at Tsunade. "So what are we doing?" Naruto asked. Tsunade smiled. "Today I'm going to teach you my own technique," Tsunade stated. Naruto's ears perked up as he listened. Chakra came over Tsunade's hand as she turned to a dummy. She cocked back her hand and punched with little to no effort as the punch connected with the dummy. The dummy blasted away into pieces as wood shattered, spraying everywhere. Naruto's eyes widened. She was going to teach him something like that. Tsunade stood up, right, placing her hand on her hip. "That technique is a physical enhancement technique," Tsunade stated. Naruto nodded as he wrote down notes. Tsunade's sweat dropped. "When and where did he get a notebook?" This technique increases your physical power to something almost inhuman, Tsunade stated. Naruto nodded, scribbling down in his notebook. I use it for strength, but there are multiple ways you can use it, Tsunade stated. Like in your feet, Tsunade said. She channeled chakra into her feet as she bent down. Tsunade leaped up into the air, causing the ground to crack from the pressure and winds to blow things around. Naruto's hair blew in the wind as he looked up to see Tsunade in the air. Tsunade came crashing down onto the ground as Naruto looked at her with amazement. That was so awesome, Naruto thought. Tsunade smirked. But the first step to being able to do those things is chakra control, Tsunade said. Naruto instantly deflated. Chakra control was something he was horrible at. Seems I'm not learning that anytime soon, Naruto said sadly. Tsunade's sweat dropped. She had heard about his poor chakra control from Mikoto, but was it that bad? Don't give up, you haven't even tried yet, Tsunade said encouragingly. Naruto sighed as he got up. That's the spirit. Let's go through some chakra control exercises, Tsunade suggested as Naruto nodded. This is one of the basics. You usually don't learn this until you're out of the academy, Tsunade stated. Now watch closely, Tsunade instructed, making her way over to a tree. Now if you learn this, you'll be able to walk up trees, Tsunade said. Naruto nodded, listening. Now what you want to do is concentrate. Push chakra into your feet. Not too much, not too little, and start to walk up the tree, Tsunade instructed. Tsunade placed one foot on the tree as she placed the other foot on there and started walking up. Naruto stared in disbelief as Tsunade walked up and down the tree effortlessly. Now you try, Tsunade instructed as Naruto nodded. Naruto stood still for a moment before sparks of chakra went off around his feet. Eventually his foot was surrounded in chakra as he placed his right foot on the tree. Surprisingly, it stuck to the tree as Naruto placed his other foot on it. Tsunade smiled. His chakra's control wasn't bad at all. Start walking, Tsunade said. Naruto grunted a few times before he looked at Tsunade awkwardly. Grandma, we have a problem, Naruto said. Tsunade raised an eyebrow. I'm stuck, Naruto said. Tsunade sighed as she walked over to Naruto and pulled on his body. The hell? Tsunade said as she tugged some more. The kid was glued onto the tree. Tsunade took a deep breath before pulling with all her might. The tree lifted up with Naruto still on it, as Tsunade held Naruto in surprise. How much chakra did you put in your legs? Tsunade asked. Naruto shrugged. Tsunade's sweat dropped. 10 minutes later. Naruto stood on the ground, rubbing the back of his head in embarrassment. Tsunade laid on the ground, breathing heavily. Man, that was a workout, Tsunade panted. Keep on going, kid, and put a little amount of chakra, Tsunade said. Naruto nodded as sparks went off on his feet, the light blue chakra covering it. Naruto breathed in before running towards the tree. He put his foot on there, and then his other as he just fell off. Again, and again. Naruto sighed before closing his eyes. Naruto imagined the chakra going into both of his feet. He took a deep breath before he opened his eyes and placed one foot on the tree. Surprisingly, it stuck to the tree as Naruto placed the other one on the tree. The Ohair stuck to as Naruto was now sideways. All right, slow and steady, Naruto said as he slowly placed one foot in front of the other. Step, 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 step. Naruto's eyes widened as he reached the top of the tree. I did it, Naruto yelled in happiness. Tsunade looked up at Naruto as she could almost cry. 3 long hours. A tear dropped from her eye. Now the next part, Tsunade said. Naruto smiled. An hour later. Tsunade and Naruto were now at a lake as Naruto was now trying the same thing with the tree, but now on water. Naruto stood on the water for a few seconds before falling. Naruto stood up. He had been going for an hour and his clothes were absolutely drenched. Naruto sighed as he got back onto the deck and took a deep breath. Focus, focus, all the chakra going into your feet, evenly, Naruto thought. He was trying to help himself out by focusing better and imagining what to do. Naruto took one step on the water as he floated above it. He then put the other foot as he stayed afloat. Naruto opened his eyes as he started walking slowly around the river. Tsunade looked at Naruto proudly. I'm such a good teacher, Tsunade said, congratulating herself. Naruto jumped from the lake onto the deck. Is it time for the technique yet? Naruto asked eagerly. Tsunade nodded as she stood up. Do the same thing, but in your hands, Tsunade instructed. Naruto nodded as he focused on putting chakra into his hands. Sparks of chakra went off before it covered his hand. Naruto smiled. Now punch the tree over there, Tsunade said. Naruto smiled widely as he ran over there at top speed, ready to test his new technique. Naruto stood in front of the tree as he punched it. A small dent came in on the tree. It wasn't like Tsunade's, but Naruto was proud of himself. If you want more power, put more chakra, Tsunade said. Naruto nodded as he pushed more chakra into his fist. He then punched the tree as a huge dent came on it. Naruto screamed in happiness as he jumped up and down. Let's go tell mom and dad, Naruto said before he rushed off. Tsunade sighed as she ran after him. Chapter 4. Intense Training Part 2. Naruto did push-ups. 97, 98, 99, 100, Naruto said as he then got up and laid down on the couch. Naruto was working out for his physical strength. Naruto breathed heavily. He had done a whole 2-hour workout with weights on. Yes, Tsunade was making him wear weights under his clothes. The Sannin had said it made him use more strength than normal, so it was good for training his physical strength. Tsunade also had a whole collection of training weights and gave it to Naruto, telling him to go to the next weight every time it got easy. The weights went all the way up to 10,000. And right now Naruto was on the 100-pound weight, which was wrapped all around him. 1 on his stomach and 2 on his arms and legs, which was literally triple his body weight. Yes, Naruto was going to be in tip-top shape. He was already beginning to get a six-pack. Naruto laid on the couch, his whole body literally drenched in sweat. A loud yawn went off from the kitchen as Naruto saw Jiraiya walk from out of the kitchen into the front room as he stood over him. "Wow kid, you're not looking so good," Jiraiya stated with a small chuckle. Naruto looked annoyed. He didn't want to joke around right now. "Sucks for you though, cause it's my turn to train you," Jiraiya said smiling. Naruto turned to him. "Right now?" Naruto asked, hoping for a no. He was tired. "Yup, right now," Jiraiya said smiling. Naruto groaned in irritation. They were training him non-stop. "Hop in the shower, and then we're off," Jiraiya stated as he chuckled maniacally and walked off. "Oh Kami, I'm going to die in a few days if this goes on," Naruto said as he got up before jogging to his room into the bathroom. A whole hour later, Jiraiya sat on the couch waiting. What the hell is taking him so long? Jiraiya yelled. He was growing impatient. He had told the brat to get in the shower a whole hour ago, and he still wasn't out. With Naruto, the black-haired Uchiha laid peacefully in his bed. He had got out the shower about 30 minutes ago, and now he was relaxing. But he still had the shower going to make it seem like he was in there. The weights laid on his dresser. This was the only time Naruto could pull them off because he was sleeping. Suddenly, Jiraiya busted through the door angrily as Naruto jolted awake from the loud noise. "You sneaky little brat," Jiraiya yelled in anger. Naruto got up from the bed quickly as he looked at Jiraiya awkwardly. "You've been sleeping this whole time?" Jiraiya asked. Naruto gave him a cheeky grin. "Not the whole time, about 30 minutes, Naruto said. Jiraiya groaned. "I've been waiting an hour dash." Jiraiya sighed, calming himself down. "Let's just go," Jiraiya said as Naruto put on his weights quickly and followed Jiraiya out of the Namikaze compound. "Where are we going?" Naruto asked. Jiraiya smiled. "We're going to the Forest of Death," Jiraiya said as he said the last part spookily. Naruto narrowed his eyes. "What's that?" Naruto asked. Jiraiya smirked. "The most dangerous place in the leaf," Jiraiya stated. Naruto shivered. "And why are we going to the most dangerous place in the leaf?" Naruto asked, confused by the logic. "To get you better at taijutsu and jutsu, of course," Jiraiya said, as if it was obvious. Naruto sighed. The perv better not get him killed. The two started walking out of the gates and towards the Forest of Death. 10 minutes later, Naruto stood in front of a big gate. He had a very bad feeling about this. "Now, kid, this is the only time you can take off your weights to see how much you've grown," Jiraiya said. Naruto gave him a wide smile. That was the best news he had ever heard. Naruto took off his shirt, unstrapping all the weights on his body. Naruto stretched. "Oh Kami," Naruto said in pure happiness as he felt light as a feather. "Let's begin our journey into the Forest of Death," Jiraiya said, saying the last part creepily again. Naruto's sweat dropped. Is that like a thing he has to do every time he says it, because the place is so spooky and dangerous? Naruto asked himself before he shrugged it off. Jiraiya pushed open the large, creaky gates of the forest. The two walked inside. Alright kid, let's test out your speed, Jiraiya said as Naruto nodded. Naruto suddenly took off at amazing speeds down the forest as Jiraiya sped after him. Wow Naruto, that's about high Genin level speed you got there, Jiraiya said smiling. Naruto smiled back. The weights actually helped him. The two both slowed down. Now let's start the real training, Jiraiya said smiling. Naruto blinked before shrugging. All he cared about was getting stronger. The first one we're doing is Taijutsu, Jiraiya stated. Naruto nodded. Now come at me with everything you've got so I can get all the information I need, Jiraiya ordered. Naruto smiled. I have only one goal. Hit Jiraiya at least one time, Naruto thought before he closed his eyes. Chakra suddenly covered Naruto's fist as he got into his stance. His right hand was a little above his eyebrow, as the left hand was a little below his chin, almost like a boxer. Start any time you want, Jiraiya said. Instantly, Naruto ran at top speeds towards Jiraiya as he leaped up into the air, and then came crashing down with his fist cocked back. Jiraiya stepped to the side at the very last second as Naruto punched the ground, cracking it a bit. Naruto instantly turned to his left as he threw a left hook at Jiraiya. Jiraiya blocked it. It wasn't as powerful as Tsunade's, so it only hurt a tiny bit. Naruto retracted his arm as he spun around and tried to kick Jiraiya in his leg. Jiraiya caught his leg and flipped him over as Naruto flipped in the air onto a tree. Naruto instantly pounced off the tree towards Jiraiya as he pumped more chakra into his fist. A loud boom went off as the ground near him had a huge crater in it. Holy shit, Jiraiya yelled. If he would have got hit with that, something would definitely be broke. Naruto appeared in front of Jiraiya, catching him off guard because he was still shocked by the crater. Naruto jabbed Jiraiya right in the chest twice. Jiraiya's eyes widened as Naruto knocked the air out of him. Naruto then followed up with a jab to the face, teaching a left hook and an uppercut. Jiraiya's face went in all directions as Naruto then jumped up and brought his leg back before weaving it through the air towards Jiraiya's head. Two kunoichi ran towards the sounds. They had been hearing loud booms in the distance and wanted to go see what it was. The one with purple hair landed on a tree block as the other one with black hair landed beside her. The two looked down at Naruto and Jiraiya fighting. Whoa, Kurenai, they're going at it, the purple-haired woman said as she smiled. Kurenai chuckled. The younger one seems to be getting trained by the older one, Kurenai stated. The purple-haired lady smiled as she licked a kunai. Why don't we greet them? She suggested. Kurenai rolled her eyes. Anko, by greet, do you mean challenge both of them to a fight? Kurenai asked. Anko smirked. Her friend knew her so well. With Naruto. Naruto jumped in the air, going through hand signs. Jiraiya's eyes widened. Hey, that's cheating. It's only taijutsu. Jiraiya yelled to Naruto. Naruto smirked. You're a Sannin, deal with it, Naruto yelled back. Jiraiya's sweat dropped as Naruto finished the hand signs. Jiraiya's eyes widened. He knew that jutsu. Jiraiya screamed as he ran off. Right on. Reiku Kauzen no Jutsu. Naruto yelled as this was the jutsu Minato taught him. Naruto held out his hand still in the air as he aimed it towards Jiraiya. A sudden burst of scorching hot electricity flashed at tremendous speeds towards Jiraiya, ripping through trees as it came down. Jiraiya jumped out the way at the last second. A ground-shaking boom went off as you could see lightning coursing through the ground. Jiraiya peeked from out of some nearby bushes. You could have killed me, brat, Jiraiya yelled. Naruto landed on the ground smirking. Suddenly Naruto heard two sets of feet landing behind him. Naruto spun around only to be met with a pair of large breasts. Naruto stared at the breasts. Wow, Naruto said, speechless. Anko smirked as she licked her lips. You like what you see? Anko asked. Naruto blushed, realizing he had been caught staring at her breasts. I'm sorry, Naruto apologized. Anko bent down to Naruto, licking her lips slowly as she had just found her next prey. She leaned into Naruto's ear. You know, if you asked nicely, I'll let you touch them, Anko whispered softly into Naruto's ear. Naruto blushed a dark red. What do you mean? Naruto asked, stuttering a bit. Anko smirked. I mean dash. Her words were cut short as Kurenai spoke. Leave him alone, Anko, Kurenai said, sighing. Anko clicked her tongue. Come on, Kurenai-chan, Anko pleaded. Kurenai chuckled. Kurenai didn't know why her friend enjoyed talking seductively to men and making them blush. But Kurenai guessed it had to do with the look they had right after. Jiraiya suddenly came out of the bushes as he saw the two women Naruto were talking to. Well, hello ladies, Jiraiya greeted with a smile. Kurenai turned to Jiraiya with a shocked expression. You're Jiraiya of the Sannin, Kurenai said. Anko raised an eyebrow. Jiraiya smirked. The legendary Sannin Jiraiya at your service, Jiraiya said, bowing. Kurenai smiled. She had never met a Sannin before. Wow, how old are you? Anko asked. Jiraiya's sweat dropped. How old do I look? Jiraiya asked. Anko shrugged. Maybe going on 60? Anko asked genuinely, giving an honest answer. Jiraiya's face could have died right there. Naruto laughed, pointing at Jiraiya. She thinks you're 60, Naruto said as he laughed harder. A tick mark appeared on Jiraiya's head as he looked at Naruto with anger in his eyes. Shut the hell up, Jiraiya yelled. Naruto stopped laughing as he looked frightened for a second before he continued laughing. Anko joined in on the laughing as she was laughing at the frightened face Naruto had did. Kid, you're funny, Anko said, wiping a tear from her eyes. Naruto stopped rolling on the ground as he breathed out a sigh. That was hilarious. Laugh it all up, kid, Jiraiya said, annoyed. Kurenai chuckled as her eyes suddenly widened. That's where she knew Naruto from. He had looked so familiar, but she couldn't place her finger on it. Are you Naruto Namikaze? Kurenai asked, making sure she was right about this. Naruto nodded with a big smile. Yup, he acts almost identical to Hokage-sama, Kurenai thought, chuckling a bit. Anko raised an eyebrow. Isn't Namikaze the Hokage's last name? Anko asked. Naruto nodded. So you're training him? Anko asked. Jiraiya nodded. Anko remembered what she came here for. Hey, why don't we have a friendly spar? Anko suggested. Jiraiya raised an eyebrow. Me and you? Jiraiya asked. Anko nodded with a grin. Facing a Sannin would be a real challenge. Jiraiya shook his head. Sorry, but I'm training Naruto, Jiraiya said. Anko looked saddened. Well, it was worth a try, Anko said, sighing. She then sprung up. Well, me and Kurenai-chan have to get going, Anko said. Jiraiya nodded. If you ever want to spar, you can find me here, Anko said as she then jumped away. Kurenai waved goodbye to them both before hopping away. Those are some interesting ladies, Jiraiya said. Naruto chuckled. Well, let's continue your training, Jiraiya said, changing the subject. Naruto sighed. We're moving on to jutsu, Jiraiya said happily. Naruto's ears heard jutsu as he perked up. Now the first one is easy. You'll probably get it under 10 tries, Jiraiya said. Naruto nodded as Jiraiya showed him the hand signs. Naruto memorized it as Jiraiya sped through the hand signs at normal speed. Right-tongue. Saitiki Suji, no jutsu, Jiraiya yelled. Naruto blinked as he waited. Are you going to do it? Naruto asked. Jiraiya chuckled. I already did it, Jiraiya stated. Naruto narrowed his eyes suspiciously. Is he trying to prank me? I surely didn't see anything happen, Naruto thought. Jiraiya chuckled at Naruto's suspicious eye. Walk over there between those trees, Jiraiya told him. Naruto sighed as he started walking in between two trees. A light shock hit the tip of his fingers. As Naruto looked confused. The hell was that? Naruto asked as he backed up. Naruto squinted as he could barely see a lightning string wrapping around the trees surrounding them. That jutsu acts like a string surrounding a large area, but I made it cover only this area, Jiraiya stated. And with the string surrounding the area, if somebody passes by it lets you know, Jiraiya said. Naruto nodded. So basically it's a string you can set up to let you know if somebody is in the area? Naruto asked, making sure he got it. Jiraiya nodded. Now you try it, Jiraiya said as Naruto nodded. Oh, I almost forgot, if you want it to be a large area, put a lot of chakra, but less for a small area, Jiraiya informed as Naruto nodded once again. Shouldn't be hard, Naruto said. He sped through hand signs. Right-on. Saitiki Suji, no jutsu, Naruto yelled. A few sparks went off in the surrounding area, before a large spark went off, scorching a nearby tree. Jiraiya chuckled. Try again, Jiraiya said. Naruto didn't say anything as he went through hand signs again. Right-on. Saitiki Suji, no jutsu, Naruto yelled. Small sparks went off before things went quiet. Jiraiya smiled, holding out his hand as Naruto high-fived him. All right, now let's test it, Jiraiya said as he started walking. He walked in between trees as a small shock went off on his fingertips. Naruto felt something inside his body. Naruto felt his chakra moving from his left. Did you feel it? Jiraiya asked, grinning. Yeah, it felt weird, like my chakra moved from the left, Naruto said. You can practice that some more whenever you like, But now, let's move on to the next one, Jiraiya stated. Naruto sighed. He was sweating badly. 3 hours later. Naruto breathed sat in the Namake's library. He and Jiraiya had finished training 2 hours ago, and Naruto had learned 4 jutsu. He only perfected one, however, which was the Saitiki Suji no Jutsu, or the lightning string technique. Naruto couldn't master the other 3 because of how little time they had to practice, but Naruto was going to practice on it more. Naruto was currently reading a book about all the Kages and their power. He was seeing if he could learn anything from it, like a specific jutsu they used, fighting style, anything. Naruto flipped through the pages. The first Hokage Hashirama Senju Naruto read aloud. Hashirama Senju was the first Hokage and founder of Konohagakure, or the Hidden Leaf Village. Hashirama Senju is arguably the strongest Kage to ever exist, due to his would release Kekai Genkai. Naruto sighed. Nope, don't have that release, Naruto said as he flipped another page. The third Raikage of Kumogakure, or the village hidden in the clouds, was one of the strongest Kage of his time, Naruto read. The third Raikage and his lightning armor completely destroyed any enemy Kumo had. The lightning armor, he had boosted his speed to something of that of a god, and boosted his strength the same, Naruto read aloud. Naruto then stopped. That's it, Naruto said. He stood up. What if I add lightning to the physical boosting chakra technique Grandma Tsunade taught me? Naruto wondered. Blue chakra covered Naruto's fists as he smiled. Naruto then closed his eyes. Think about the lightning chakra covering your fist, Naruto said to himself. Lightning chakra going into your fists. The scorching lightning chakra flaring wildly about, Naruto thought. Sparks of lightning went off as Naruto then heard intense lightning screeching on his fists. Naruto didn't open his eyes, yet as he pumped more lightning chakra into his fists. Naruto smiled widely as he opened his eyes. He held up his hands to show the intense lightning. I did it! Naruto yelled in happiness. He stopped the technique as he ran out of the room and into the living room. Mom, Dad, Grandma Tsunade, Jiraiya, Naruto called. They all turned to Naruto. Yes, dear? Makoto asked. Look what I can do, Naruto said, smiling. Jiraiya raised his eyebrow. Naruto covered his fists in chakra. Did yo? Tsunade's words were cut short. Suddenly Naruto's hand sparked as lightning enveloped his hand, flaring wildly. Minato's eyes widened. Where did you learn that? Makoto asked, interested. I did it myself, Naruto said proudly. Tsunade smiled. You made my chakra technique even better, Tsunade said, smiling. Naruto nodded. I'm just going to get stronger, Naruto stated. Chapter 5. Bloodshed. Naruto walked around the village with his mother holding his hand. They were both eating ice cream as Naruto had vanilla and his mother had chocolate. Today was Mother and Son Day, which was a day where both Naruto and his mother just hung out. Naruto could finally take a break from all the training. The two went to the park as Naruto played bit after eating his ice cream. Kiba and Shikamaru were there, so Naruto had somebody to play with. Naruto jumped onto the monkey bars, barely getting away from Kiba, who was the tagger. Kiba bent down before he jumped behind Naruto. Naruto jumped off the monkey bars as Kiba jumped off too. Naruto laughed as he held onto the monkey bars. When he jumped, he grabbed onto it. Kiba landed on the ground as Naruto hung above him, waving down at him. That's not fair, Kiba said as Naruto just stuck out his tongue. Surprisingly, Shikamaru was actually playing correctly and not somewhere laying around. But Naruto guessed it was because Shikamaru's mother was watching him. Kiba dashed back up towards Naruto as Naruto laughed, jumping down and running away. 30 minutes later. Where are we going next, Ma? Naruto asked. Mikoto smiled. I'm just going to pick up a few things, Mikoto said as Naruto nodded. The two turned a corner onto a street as Naruto instantly knew where they were going. Mikoto turned to a purple shop on the side of them as they entered. A ring went off from the bell as Naruto and his mom walked around. Flowers stood on shelves everywhere. Naruto sighed, looking up at his mother. Mikoto loved flowers. She also loved gardening as Naruto would sometimes see her outside of his window. Mikoto smiled as she got a red flower. It was called a rose and was Mikoto's favorite flower from what Naruto understood. Mikoto brought the flower to the front as an older blonde lady rung it up. Naruto stared at the plant. He could understand why it was his mother's favorite. It was beautiful. They soon left the flower shop as Mikoto had it in a small bag in a pot. Okay, Naruto, let's go to one more place and head back in. It's getting late, Mikoto said. Naruto, a voice called from behind. Naruto turned around smiling as he saw Sasuke. They did their routine as they bumped shoulders and did a handshake. How you been, bro? Sasuke asked. Naruto smiled. I've been good, tired though. I've been getting intense training all week, Naruto said, groaning. Sasuke smiled. It's my week off. I start back training in 2 days, Sasuke said. Naruto pouted. Lucky, Naruto said in jealousy. I'm still training at this very moment, Naruto said. He pulled up his pants, shirt, and sleeves. He had 100-pound weights everywhere, wrapped around his stomach, around both of his arms, and his legs. Sasuke's sweat dropped. I feel sorry for you, Sasuke said, laughing as Naruto rolled his eyes. I'm going to be sleeping good tonight, though I get a break for 2 days, but still have to work out, Naruto stated. Sasuke nodded before his eyes lit up. He had a great idea as a light bulb turned on over his head. Is that real? Naruto asked as he tapped the light bulb as it swayed. Mikoto looked down as she looked confused at the light bulb tapping it too. Sasuke looked up before shrugging. I don't know, Sai put that there, Sasuke said. Naruto turned to the camera. That's unnatural and looks weird, Naruto said. He can control whatever we do, Sasuke said, shrugging. Stupid creator, Naruto muttered. Anyway, why don't we have a sleepover at my house? Sasuke asked. Naruto nodded quickly before turning to Mikoto. Mikoto's sweat dropped. He was already doing the cute eyes. Mom, can I? Naruto asked, his eyes looking sad. Mikoto, I don't dash. Tears welled up in Naruto's eyes. Please? Naruto asked. Mikoto sighed. Fine, Mikoto said, giving in. Naruto smiled as he hugged his mother. Meanwhile, Sasuke was doing the same thing to his mother to ask if Naruto could come over. Nyamai sighed. I guess it's fine, Nyamai said as Naruto and Sasuke jumped in the air victoriously. They'll see you tomorrow, Mikoto said, waving to Naruto as Naruto waved back. Naruto looked towards Sasuke as they both knew they were going to have so much fun. Time skip an hour later. The moon had just appeared as the sun had just disappeared beyond the horizon as Naruto and Sasuke were watching TV. Both of them were eating popcorn out of a gigantic bowl as they needed a lot. The two were going to watch a whole bunch of movies. They also had a large cup of soda on the side. Naruto stared at the TV screen, eating popcorn. The lady on the TV turned around quick, hearing a noise. Sasuke's eyes widened in fear. The lady peeked around a corner slowly, but nothing was there. Naruto sipped on some of his soda, watching with anticipation. The lady ran quietly across the floor as if she was trying to escape from something without making noise. Click. Her shoes made a clicking noise as her eyes widened. She then heard large, quick footsteps running towards her as she screamed, running off. She ran into a room and into a closet, shutting the door quickly. Breathing was heard in the closet, but it wasn't hers. The lady turned around slowly before screaming. Naruto peeked from under the covers as he sighed in relief. It's finally over, Naruto said, sighing. Sasuke nodded. Let's watch that new movie with Yuki Fujikaze, Naruto suggested. Sasuke sighed. You love her. You'd probably marry her if she gave you a chance, Sasuke said, snickering. Naruto shook his head in defense. Let's just watch a movie, Naruto said. Sasuke snickered again before putting the movie in. 2 hours later. That movie was so good, Naruto said as Sasuke nodded. They didn't have to leave us on to be continued though, Sasuke said. Naruto nodded in agreement. They were heartless for that. It looked like the movie was almost over anyway, Naruto said. Sasuke chuckled as he shrugged. The next one should be coming out soon, Sasuke said as he yawned. Naruto sighed. I can't wait that long, Naruto said. Sasuke shrugged once again. I'm going to sleep, Sasuke said as he climbed into bed. Naruto got off of Sasuke's bed as he got in his sleeping bag. It felt comfy as Naruto snuggled up in the bag. Whack! Naruto looked confused as he got hit with a soft object. Whack whack! Naruto saw Sasuke hitting him with a pillow as Sasuke laughed maniacally. Wait, you're cheating him in my sleeping bag. I can't move, Naruto yelled. Sasuke laughed more maniacally. All a part of my evil plan, Sasuke said as he whacked Naruto again, sending him rolling. Naruto put his hand on the zipper as he unzipped himself and got up quickly. He saw a pillow on the ground as he dove for it and rolled. Naruto stood up quickly, looking at Sasuke with a smile. You should give up. You know you won't win, Naruto said as the two walked in circles facing each other. I was about to say the same to you, Sasuke said as he leaped towards Naruto, pillow in hand. Naruto got tackled to the ground as the two rolled back and forth around the room. I have you in my grasp. You're not getting free, Sasuke said. Naruto suddenly yelled, my ankle, Naruto said. Sasuke hurriedly got up from him as he looked down concerned. Whack! Naruto grinned as he hit Sasuke with his pillow. Sasuke grinned. Cheater, Sasuke said as the two went blow for blow with the pillows. A little time later, both boys were laying down. They had tired themselves out and were catching their breaths, planning on going to sleep. That was until Naruto got this bad feeling. Naruto felt something he had never felt before. Like somebody wanted to kill, somebody was starving to kill. No, it wasn't any killer intent. He had felt that from Tsunade when she was mad at Jiraiya, and this was nothing like that. This was completely different. Like he could feel the emotions of hatred, anger, and the hunger to kill. What was this new feeling? Suddenly screams sounded through the Uchiha compound as both Naruto and Sasuke jolted up, both looking at each other. They heard fast footsteps coming up the stairs. A wide-eyed Nyamai busted through the room, closing the door and locking it. They both looked confused. Mom, what's going on? Why are people screaming? Sasuke asked, scared. Nyamai shook her head slowly. I don't know, but your dad is going to protect us, Nyamai said. Sasuke breathed a sigh of relief. His father was powerful, but he still worried a bit. They all heard a door bust open. They both jumped in fear. A blood-curdling scream went out in pure agonizing pain. Tears rolled down Sasuke's face. He was scared and nothing but a child. But Sasuke knew exactly what cries of pain sounded like, and those were cries of pain. So that begged the question, what was causing the screams? They heard another door bust open as it sounded like it was their house. Sasuke's eyes widened. Fukaku was downstairs by himself. Itachi. The three heard Fukaku yell Itachi's name. Sasuke got a glint of hope in his eyes. Big brother Itachi is here to save us, Sasuke said as Nyamai smiled. With Fukaku and Itachi, nothing will happen, Nyamai said. Naruto breathed a sigh of relief. He was about to start crying. Another yell went off as they heard Fukaku grunting. What the hell are you doing? Fukaku asked in disbelief. Naruto's body shook. The feeling he had before was more intense now. Naruto felt the pure hatred coming from somebody downstairs. He could almost see a figure made up of pure hatred and the hunger to kill. It was like a purple figure. A katana could be heard cutting through flesh as a thud hit the ground. Nyamai's eyes widened. None of them could see what was happening. But if Itachi and Fukaku were down there who had just got slashed and probably killed. Naruto saw another figure. It was blue. Naruto felt like the figure was saddened and felt betrayed. However, the blue figure flickered. The blue was fading in and out. Like a light switch, the fading grew weaker as Naruto saw the blue figure fade completely. Naruto's eyes widened as he saw the purple figure coming upstairs where they were as it approached the door. The purple figure was going to kill them. Tears leaked from Naruto's eyes. This was too much. The figure twisted the knob, but it was locked. The three only heard. Futon, Kaze no Yaiba, the voice yelled. Nyamai smiled. That sounds like Itachi, Nyamai said. Sasuke smiled in relief. The door shattered into pieces from the jutsu as Naruto looked at Itachi in horror. As Itachi stepped in, he was the purple figure. Suddenly chakra came over Naruto's hands before lightning came over it, flaring. Nyamai looked at Naruto confused before she looked at Itachi's attire. Blood stained his vest as blood also dripped from his katana. Itachi, what's going on? Nyamai asked, demanding an answer. Itachi just looked at the three. Sasuke's eyes widened. He wasn't dumb. No, he wasn't stupid in the slightest. Sasuke backed up as Itachi smiled. Itachi's eyes spun as Itachi disappeared in godly speeds. Itachi reappeared behind Nyamai as he just stood there. Suddenly blood gushed from Nyamai's neck as her eyes were wide with horror. She dropped to the ground as Naruto could hear the sounds of gargling going off inside her throat and her struggling to breath. Mom! Sasuke yelled with tears in his eyes as he ran to his mother. Itachi stood there menacingly as he got ready to stab Sasuke, but Sasuke didn't seem to notice as he was worried about his mother. Itachi swung down towards Sasuke. At that very moment, everything seemed to slow down. Itachi was going to kill Sasuke. Naruto looked at Itachi. He was going to kill his friend. His best friend was going to die in front of him, and he couldn't do anything to stop it. Kill him, a dark demonic voice said. A burst of orange chakra surrounded Naruto as he had an orange tail swaying behind him. Naruto disappeared in a burst of speed. Naruto reappeared in front of Itachi right in his face, as his hand was cocked back. The lightning chakra flared as you could hear the sounds of it. Naruto punched Itachi with all his might in the face, sending him flying into a wall. Itachi's back hit the wall with tremendous force as he coughed up spit. Itachi didn't get a chance to do a thing as Naruto appeared in front of him again. Naruto kicked him in the stomach, knocking the breath out of him, then jumped up as he kicked Itachi in the chin, sending him upwards, crashing through the multiple floors of the house. Itachi flipped in midair before landing. "What the hell?" Itachi said, confused. It then dawned on him. "The Kyuubi," Itachi stated. He remembered being told by the Hokage about his son's situation. Almost all the Jonin were told and were ordered to not say a thing about it. Naruto leaped and busted through the roof. Itachi looked at Naruto, who landed, both their Sharingan spinning, but Naruto's was a one-tomo as Itachi's was a manjikyu. Naruto let out a demonic roar as it almost made Itachi's ears bleed. Naruto disappeared with tremendous speed as he appeared in front of Itachi, lightning still coursing through his hands as he punched him in his stomach with inhuman force. Itachi's eyes widened as he coughed up blood. He went flying into a tree as you could see the lightning raging through the air. Naruto appeared in front of Itachi as he jabbed at his face. Itachi tried to block it, but brought his hand back quickly. The electricity in the orange chakra was scorching hot. The electricity on Naruto's hand flared wildly as he punched Itachi in the face, sending him flying once again. Such strength and speed, Itachi thought. Naruto appeared under Itachi right when he was flying past as he cocked his hand back and punched Itachi in the air. Itachi gasped in pain. Naruto roared on the ground as he jumped in the air towards Itachi, cracking the ground from the tremendous pressure. Itachi blocked a punch from Naruto as it burned his hand. He punched Naruto in the face with devastating force. Naruto didn't seem to mind as his nose bled. Naruto used his hand to guide the Itachi's punch in a different direction before punching him in the face. Itachi expected to go flying, but Naruto grabbed his arm, stopping him as he heaved Itachi down with all his might. Itachi flew down to the ground, wind blowing in his face as he hit the ground, making it crack under the pressure. Naruto came crashing down onto Itachi's stomach, making him cough up more blood before he jumped off of Itachi. Naruto sped through hand signs. Katan, Ryuka no Jutsu. Naruto yelled as he unleashed an absolutely massive fire towards Itachi. Itachi dashed off as Naruto was still blowing the fire. Itachi suddenly appeared above Naruto, as the Itachi running was a clone. Itachi had his foot in the air ready to slam on Naruto's head. Itachi brought his leg down on Naruto's head with skull-breaking force as Naruto hit the ground. Naruto laid on the ground. The orange chakra had disappeared. Itachi landed on the ground. "Seems he couldn't go further," Itachi said. Itachi then lifted up his katana ready to stab Naruto in the head. Flash. Itachi saw Minato holding a kunai, stopping the katana from stabbing Naruto. "Itachi, what the hell are you doing?" Minato asked, enraged, demanding an answer. Itachi's eyes widened. He couldn't fight Minato. He knew he wouldn't win. Itachi disappeared in a flock of crows as they flew away. Minato seethed in anger. Naruto and Mikoto were something he didn't play about, and Itachi had just tried to kill Naruto. Minato sighed as he saw Sasuke walking out of the house dragging something. Minato looked closer to see it was none other than Yamai. Sasuke had tears in his eyes, crying uncontrollably. "Help!" Sasuke yelled. "My mom needs help," Sasuke yelled before he fell on his knees crying. He knew his mom was dead. He just didn't want to believe it. Sasuke wiped the tears, but they kept coming. The moon shined on everybody as Sasuke eventually passed out. With Naruto. Naruto blinked. He was laying in water. Naruto held his head. "Kami, feels like I got kicked with maximum power by Jiraiya," Naruto said as his head was throbbing in pain. Naruto realized the place he was in didn't look familiar. Naruto stood up holding his aching head while looking at his surroundings as he looked confused. "I could have sworn I was Sasuke at his house a few minutes ago. Was that all a dream?" Naruto asked as he started looking around and walking. It looked like he was in some type of sewer or something. Naruto sniffed. It didn't smell like a sewer though. Naruto continued to walk around turning corner after corner. He was just about to scream in anger when he turned into a large room. The hell? Naruto said confused. He looked at a large gate. No, not a gate like Konoha's. This one was way more bigger, probably 20 times bigger. The gate was just abnormally large. Naruto walked up to the gate, his foot splashing against the water. Hello, Naruto called out. Naruto stepped back a few feet so he could see the full gate. Suddenly, two large dark red eyes snapped open. Naruto stared at the thing behind the gate in horror. The dark red eyes followed Naruto as he walked around making sure he wasn't seeing things, and sure enough, the eyes were following him. The ground started to rumble under Naruto as the thing stood upright. It walked on its gigantic four legs like an animal would as it stood right in the light, showing it to be a gigantic fox. So my jailer finally arrives, the fox said as Naruto shivered. The fox was speaking, and in such a demonic tone. What the hell is happening, Naruto thought. The fox raised an eyebrow as he could hear Naruto's thoughts. The QB suddenly snarled at Naruto. Those cursed eyes, the QB said in anger. Naruto looked confused but brushed it off. I would have thought your leader would have informed you about me, the beast said. Naruto stood still, he couldn't move. The fox sighed as it dawned on him. The fox suppressed his chakra as Naruto took a deep breath, calming himself. The fox had this aura about him. It was like killer intent, but it was a natural feeling he gave off to people because of his chakra. Speak, the fox ordered. Naruto looked the fox in his eyes. What the hell are you, and where am I? Naruto asked. The fox looked at Naruto with surprise. He wasn't expecting that tone of voice and looking him directly in the eye when he speaks. The fox chuckled. As I said before, has your leader not told you about me? The fox asked. Naruto looked confused. What leader? My dad, the Hokage. Naruto asked, as that was the only leader he knew. Yes, that was his name, the fox said, remembering now. What was my dad supposed to tell me? Naruto asked, very confused. He had to be dreaming while sleeping at Sasuke's house. The fox's eyebrows twitched in annoyance. He had been telling almost all of his holders what he was and why he's here. All because their damned leader blew it off. The fox sighed. I am what you humans call QB, the QB said. It took him a little time to remember what the humans had named him. Naruto's eyes widened. No way, you're lying, Naruto yelled. The QB raised an eyebrow at Naruto. The third Hokage killed you years ago, Naruto yelled. The QB let off a small chuckle before it grew into demonic laughter. The QB was laughing for about 10 minutes, rolling across the ground before he sighed. Oh, Kami, I haven't laughed like that in years, the QB said as the beast wiped a tear from its eye. The QB turned to Naruto, its eyes looking him over, almost examining him. Do you actually think one of you puny humans could kill me? The QB asked with a cocky grin. Naruto looked up at the QB, not saying anything. Sorry to tell you, kid, but I can't die even if I wanted to, the QB stated. Naruto looked at the QB confused. Then where am I? Naruto asked, stammering. There shouldn't be any reason the QB would be right in front of him. The QB smiled. We're inside your mindscape, the QB stated, almost as if it was obvious. Naruto breathed a sigh of relief. Oh dear Kami, I thought this was real, Naruto said, thanking Kami. The QB chuckled, wondering how the boy would react. It is real. I don't know how it could be fake since I'm sealed inside of you, the QB stated heavily. Time froze at that very moment. Naruto knew exactly what sealing was. Both his dad and Jiraiya practiced the art of sealing. It was when you put something into another thing. Basically, if you wanted something to eat for later, you could seal it into something. But in this case, somebody sealed something powerful into Naruto. What do you mean you're sealed inside of me? Naruto asked in anger. This wasn't making sense. The QB smirked. Why, the third Hokage of your village sacrificed himself to seal me inside of you, the QB stated. Naruto looked at him. His head was spinning. He needed to take a seat. Naruto sat down in the water. I can assure you this is real. If you were dreaming, which you aren't, there would be no reason for you to be dreaming about me, since you have never seen more or know how I sound, the QB stated. Naruto looked into the sky. It all made sense. This has to be real. The fox was right. He had never seen the QB or heard its voice. The QB yawned. It seems you have to go, the QB said. Naruto felt something pulling him as he suddenly disappeared. Chapter 6. Aftermath. Short chapter. A couple of days later. Naruto sat in a room inside of a hospital. Sasuke had been out cold since the Uchiha massacre happened. Naruto, being his friend, visited him every day and stayed as long as he could. Naruto remembered when he woke up. Flashback. Naruto slowly opened his eyes. He heard a bunch of footsteps running to his bed. He blinked his eyes, adjusting to the light in the hospital room. Mikoto grabbed Naruto and hugged him tight. "Are you okay?" Mikoto asked. Naruto nodded as the memories suddenly came flooding back to him. "What about Sasuke's mom?" Naruto asked, concerned. Mikoto let him go before sighing. "She died no more than a few seconds after he sliced her neck," Mikoto said sadly. Mikoto and Nyamai were childhood friends. Their bond was even more stronger than Naruto and Sasuke's, so Naruto couldn't imagine how she felt. "How's Sasuke?" Naruto asked. Mikoto shook her head. "He hasn't woke up yet," Mikoto said. Naruto's eyes softened. Sasuke had lost his mother and father. As Naruto guessed, Fakaka died since he was the first one in the house to encounter Itachi. Naruto couldn't imagine what he would do if he lost both Mikoto and Minato. But that's why he had to be there for Sasuke. Jiraiya stepped up. "Can you tell us what happened?" "But you don't have to," Jiraiya said, as he didn't think Naruto would want to relive those moments. Naruto nodded as he began to explain everything. But after he attacked Sasuke, things just went black, Naruto stated, finishing explaining. Mikoto fumed in rage. She was going to kill that bastard Itachi. Trying to kill Naruto, that was unforgivable. Flashback end. Naruto sat down quietly. "Hey Fox," Naruto said through his thoughts. Naruto and the Kyuubi could talk through their minds after the first time they met, and the Kyuubi said it was a wave link. The Kyuubi slowly opened his eyes. "I have a question," Naruto said. "Yawn. Make it quick, I'm sleeping," the Kyuubi said. "How the hell are you sleep?" "You sleep all the time," Naruto responded. The Kyuubi growled. "Watch your tongue, brat, you're asking me a question," the Kyuubi said, annoyed. Naruto sighed. "Were you watching when I saw those figures?" Naruto asked. The Kyuubi nodded. "Those figures, as you call them, are emotions," the Kyuubi stated. Naruto looked confused. "Explain," Naruto said as the Kyuubi sighed. "You've unlocked one of my abilities," the Kyuubi stated. Naruto blinked. "Abilities?" Naruto asked, confused. "Those figures you saw are human emotions. If someone's emotions are intense enough, you can feel them and even see it as a figure," the Kyuubi stated. Naruto held his chin, nodding. "So the figures I saw were emotions. But why can I now just see them?" Naruto asked. "You could always do it, but as I said before, the emotion has to be strong enough," the Kyuubi responded. Naruto nodded. "That was interesting. Are there any other abilities you have that I can do?" Naruto asked. Kyuubi nodded. "I know of a few, one being the tails," the Kyuubi said. "And before you ask, they are chakra tails that boost your speed, chakra, and strength tremendously," the Kyuubi said. "The others being Inferno Release and more than normal chakra," the Kyuubi stated. "Inferno Release? Like a Kekai Genkai?" Naruto asked, really intrigued. Sasuke groaned from his bed as he slowly got up. Naruto's eyes widened. Naruto rushed over to Sasuke's side. "Sasuke, are you okay?" Naruto asked. Sasuke groaned. "Where am I?" Sasuke asked. He looked around. "You're in the hospital," Naruto said. Sasuke nodded slowly before it looked like he got hit with something. "Where's my mom and dad?" Sasuke asked, concerned. Naruto's eyes softened as he looked down. "They didn't make it," Naruto said softly. Sasuke's eyes widened as he gritted his teeth. "Itachi also got away," Naruto said. Sasuke let out a frustrated yell. His older brother had killed his parents and got away with it. "I'll leave you alone for a bit," Naruto said as he started walking out of the room. Sasuke needed his space. The door closed as instantly Naruto heard yells and cries and multiple things being thrown around in a pit of rage. Naruto looked down. Chapter 7. Team 7. Naruto stood in front of the academy with Sasuke on his side, having a rather sad expression as always. Naruto took a deep breath. "This is going to be one boring 5 years," the Kyuubi said, sighing. "You know, Kyuubi, you're always complaining. I'm starting to think that's the only thing you can do," Naruto thought. The Kyuubi scoffed. "Since you're only just a child, I'll put it past you, but I assure you I know more things you can count," the Kyuubi responded. Naruto rolled his eyes. Naruto was going to respond, but was suddenly enveloped by a hug. Mikoto hugged both Naruto and Sasuke as a tear went down her cheek. You both are growing up so fast, Mikoto said, hugging the two Uchihas tighter. Mikoto smiled. It felt like just yesterday you were shitting yourself in your diapers, Mikoto said. Naruto's sweat dropped. Okay, M dash. The smell was unbearable, me and Min dash. Mom, okay. Naruto said, embarrassed. A bunch of kids were looking his way, snickering and laughing as Sasuke couldn't help but smirk. Oh, sorry, Naruto, Mikoto apologized while wiping a tear from her face. But I'll miss you, Mikoto said. Naruto's sweat dropped. She does know it's only 8 hours, right? The Kyuubi asked. Naruto shrugged. My mom's just like that, Naruto said, smiling a bit. Well, I'll have to let you guys go, Mikoto said as she stood up. Naruto waved goodbye to his mom as him and Sasuke entered the academy. Years later, a quiet yawn sounded out in Naruto's bedroom as he stretched for a few seconds before rubbing his eyes. The black-haired Uchiha was now 12. He had just graduated the academy, and today was his team placement day. Naruto slowly uncovered himself from the covers as he stood up. I did not want to get UO today, Naruto said. Naruto's appearance had changed drastically. He looked like a 13 or 14-year-old and was pretty tall. His black hair had grew out a bit. Naruto was also a bit muscular, having a good build due to his training. Speaking of training, Naruto was very powerful, due to the training from his parents. A few minutes later, Naruto knocked on a door. He had just got done getting ready for school. The door slowly opened as Sasuke could be seen looking at him. Sasuke yawned. Is it time already? Sasuke asked. Naruto smirked and nodded. We're finally going to be ninja, Naruto yelled enthusiastically. Sasuke nodded as he stepped up. Naruto grinned. Sasuke had grown a lot since the Uchiha massacre. Mikoto had basically forced him to live with them in the Namikaze compound because she's seen him as family. Sasuke obliged and had moved in a few days later. Sasuke was quiet at first, but after a few years began to warm up a little. And when I mean a little, I mean a little. He rarely smiled. Sasuke was also rather quiet but spoke when talking to, and his personality was a complete 180. But he was pretty cold to other people. Doesn't seem like he's a morning person, the Kyuubi said with a light chuckle. Naruto sighed. He also had gotten to know the Kyuubi very well and had a good grip on Hiya personality. The Kyuubi liked interesting things, say a fight with high risks, gaining something powerful, or anything that wasn't sitting down. The beast also was rather calm, which Naruto was surprised by. Naruto would have thought he was something full of rage. He didn't get angry unless provoked, which Naruto would do because of how funny he thought it was. You ready to go? Naruto questioned. Sasuke nodded as Naruto smiled. Which team do you think we're going to be on? Naruto asked. Sasuke gave a simple shrug. I really don't mind unless my teammates slack off, Sasuke said. Naruto nodded. I wouldn't know what to do if my team was dead last because they slacked off, Naruto said, smiling. Sasuke nodded once again as the two entered the kitchen. Mikoto and Minato were already sitting down eating. Minato turned to the two. They look like twins, Minato said as his sweat dropped. The only thing that set the two apart was Naruto's whisker marks and his tall body. You guys ready to be ninja? Minato asked, smiling. The two nodded as Naruto looked towards the clock above the stove. Naruto's eyes widened. We're going to be late, Naruto yelled. Naruto hurriedly ate a few pieces of his breakfast before running off. Sasuke's sweat dropped. I thought he knew that clock is off by 30 minutes, Mikoto said. Sasuke shrugged as he walked out of the door. At the academy, Naruto ran into his classroom to see only a few people. Huh? Where is everybody? Naruto asked himself as he walked and sat down in a seat. One of the people there was Hinata, a very good friend of Naruto. Hinata glanced towards Naruto. Should I make small talk? Hinata asks herself. Hinata wasn't the shy type, but literally couldn't have a regular conversation or do anything right when she was around Naruto. Hinata took a deep breath. Why you're here earlier than usual, Inoken? Hinata said, stuttering mildly. Naruto turned his head to Hinata with a bewildered expression. Earlier than usual? Class is supposed to start in 10 minutes, Naruto said, obviously confused. Hinata blushed a bit. See, class isn't supposed to start for another 20 minutes, Hinata stated. Naruto sighed. I must have read the clock wrong or something, Naruto said, annoyed. Hinata giggled a bit as the two continued on with their conversation while kids slowly filled the classroom. A familiar blonde walked in. Ino glanced around the room before her eyes focused on Naruto. She blushed a bit before seeing the person next to him. Ino let off a soft growl as she walked up to Naruto. Naruto chuckled. It's still fun to do it sometimes, Naruto said as Hinata giggled. Hello, Naruto-kun. Ino greeted with a warm smile. Instantly, Hinata got a disgusted look on her face. Ino was Hinata's rival. The two both knew they both liked Naruto. As both their feelings developed from the group friendship they had with multiple people, including Naruto. Hinata, though, was put at a disadvantage because of one thing. Her shyness around Naruto. Hinata wasn't as bold as Ino. Ino didn't stutter, she would say anything that was on her mind. But even Ino had a disadvantage. She was a fangirl. Ino would praise Naruto for anything he did which Hinata wouldn't do because of her shyness around him. Naruto smiled. Oh, hello, Ino, Naruto greeted with a smile. Oh, Ino, I think your seat's over there, Hinata said with an angry look on HDR face as she pointed to a seat. Ino ignored her. Are you excited for team placements, Naruto-kun? Ino asked. Naruto nodded. I hope I'm on a team with at least one of my friends, Naruto stated. Ino nodded. It'll be awkward trying to get to know your team if you never spoke to them once, Ino said, chuckling a bit. Naruto laughed as suddenly screams sounded out. Naruto looked at the door to see Sasuke. Sasuke's fangirls were screaming in joy at the young Uchiha's appearance. Ever since his attitude changed, girls have been flocking all over him, Naruto thought. You have two girls all over you, the Kyuubi said. Naruto looked confused. The Kyuubi slapped his forehead. The two lady friends you have literally in front of you, and beside you, the Kyuubi stated. Huh, Hinata and Ino? No, they're just friends, they don't have feelings for me or anything, Naruto said obviously. The Kyuubi sighed. You're probably my dumbest holder ever, the Kyuubi said in irritation. I am not. I'm probably the most smartest holder you'll ever have, Naruto protested. The Kyuubi stayed quiet. All right, everybody calm down. Their sensei Iruka entered the classroom. Everyone being excited for their teams instantly shut up. Now, it has been a great year with all of you. But sadly, this is your last day in the academy. I would like to congratulate you all on graduating. Not a lot of people have a chance to do that, Iruka stated. This is the start of your path to be a real shinobi. I wish you all good luck, Iruka said as he then grabbed a paper off of his desk. Now let's begin the team placements, Iruka said. The room grew deathly quiet as people waited for their teams. A few teams went by as now the last teams were being called. Team 7 would consist of Sasuke Uchiha, Naruto Namikaze, and all the girls' breath stopped. One of the lucky girls would be put on a team with Sasuke, but not only him, Naruto. It was a literal dream. And Ino Yamanaka, Iruka said. Ino jumped out of her chair. Yes. Ino screamed in victory. She was happy beyond belief. Your sensei will be Kakashi Hatake, Iruka stated. Naruto melted into his seat. He had met Kakashi on a few occasions, and even had gotten told by Minato that he was late by 3 hours to everything. Naruto sighed. This is going to be a long 3 hours, Naruto thought. Team 8 will consist of Hiba Inuzuka, Shino Abure, and Hinata Hyuga. Your sensei will be Kurenai Yuhi, Iruka stated. Hinata let out a devastated sigh, but she'll have to make do with it. Besides, Shino and Kiba were both her friends. And lastly, Team 9. Team 9 will consist of Sakura Haruno, Shikamaru Nara, and Choji Akimichi, Iruka stated. And your sensei will be Asuma Sarutobi, Iruka stated. Sakura looked saddened. I can't be on a team with Sasuke-kun, and worse, I'm stuck on a team with the laziest ninja in Konoha and a crazy food eater, Sakura thought. Ino kept glancing at Naruto, giggling. Now's my chance. Because of the teams, I can be alone with Naruto-kun more, Ino thought. Sasuke looked at Ino with a sigh. Now we have a crazy fangirl on our team, Sasuke thought. 3 hours later. Naruto slept peacefully, his head on his desk. Sasuke and Ino, on the other hand, were sitting in deathly silence. Ino suddenly stood up in pure rage. Where the hell is this guy? Ino said angrily. Sasuke just looked at her quietly. It's been 3 hours. Everybody's sensei has come but ours. What's with this guy? Ino asked, yelling loudly. Footsteps suddenly sounded out in the hallway as Ino grew quiet. Hopefully that's him, Ino said, pouting. The door suddenly slid open as a jonin with gray hair, defying gravity, stepped into the classroom. Naruto, hearing the noise, slowly picked up his head. Oh hey Kakashi, Naruto greeted. Kakashi gave him an eye smile. Well hello Naruto, Kakashi greeted. Ino looked between the two. You guys know each other? Ino asked. Kakashi nodded. I don't think we should talk here. Meet me on the roof, Kakashi said. He suddenly disappeared in a whirl of leaves. Naruto slowly got up as he stretched. Well guys, let's go, Naruto said. Sasuke stood up as he walked out in front of the two. Followed by Naruto, then Ino. Things are finally getting interesting for you, Kyuubi, Naruto thought. The Kyuubi chuckled lightly. You've been waiting for me to become a ninja for forever, Naruto stated, laughing a bit. Naruto and Kyuubi continued the conversation as Ino was just looking at Naruto. She had began to notice Naruto would start to get immersed in his thoughts. Almost like he was talking to himself, Naruto would have random facial expressions and chuckle out loud sometimes. It's kind of weird, but that's my Naruto-kun, Ino thought, smiling. Naruto opened the door to the roof as him and Ino entered. Kakashi stood there leaning on the railings as Sasuke sat on a nearby bench. Kakashi gave them both an eye smile as he saw them enter and sit down. Naruto noticed Ino had sat rather close to him, but he shrugged it off. Kyuubi wanted to literally strangle the brat for being so dumb. Kakashi stood upright. Now that everyone's here, let's introduce ourselves, Kakashi said. Ino raised an eyebrow. But Kakashi-sensei, we all know each other, Ino said. Kakashi nodded. It's just to know each other on a better level, Kakashi stated. Ino rolled her eyes. This is all for nothing, Ino thought. Can we get a demonstration? Ino asked. Kakashi sighed. My name is Kakashi Hitaki. My age is of no importance. My likes? Well, you're too young for that. My dislikes? Also too young for that. And my goal is none of your concern, Kakashi stated. Sasuke's sweat dropped. I literally gained no information from that, Sasuke thought. Kakashi pointed at Sasuke. You go emo, Kakashi said. Sasuke narrowed his eyes at Kakashi before sighing. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I am 12 years old. I like a few things. I dislike people who talk too much. And my goal? It's not really a goal. It's more of a promise, Sasuke said. Sasuke's eyes filled with hatred. My promise is to make a certain someone pay for the actions they've done, Sasuke stated. Kakashi nodded as everyone knew who he was talking about. You now, Blondie, Kakashi said, looking at Ino. Ino just ignored the nickname and went on. My name is Ino Yamanaka, and I'm 12 years old, Ino stated. My likes are. She glanced towards Naruto before giggling. My dislikes are Hinata and her trying to steal. Ino covered her mouth, realizing what she was about to say. She glanced towards Naruto, but he didn't seem to notice. The Kyuubi groaned. Dear Kami, I hope he gets smarter, the Kyuubi said. My goal? Well, my goal is to at least have a family of my own, you know. Ino asked, but it wasn't really a question. Kakashi sighed. We have a fangirl on our team. He'll have to try and fix that, Kakashi said. Now you, Naruto, Kakashi said. And why doesn't he get a nickname? Sasuke asked in a monotone voice. Kakashi just shrugged. Didn't feel like thinking of one, Kakashi stated. Sasuke sighed in response. My name is Naruto Uchiha Namikaze, and I'm 12. My likes are my friends and training, Naruto said with a wide grin. My dislikes are people who look down on others or think they're more powerful than someone without even knowing them or fighting, Naruto stated. And my goal? My goal is to become the strongest ninja in the world, Naruto yelled as he stood up. Ino's eyes gleamed. Nothing else would fit my Naruto-kun, Ino thought. Kakashi closed a book. All right, I believe that is all for today, Kakashi said. Naruto blinked in confusion. You made us wait 3 hours for this? Ino asked, yelling angrily. Kakashi's sweat dropped. I apologize, but we're meeting tomorrow, Kakashi said. Ino sat down, sighing. My sensei's an irresponsible pervert, Ino thought, glancing at the book he was holding. Speaking of, meet me at Training Ground 7 tomorrow at noon. And I suggest you skip breakfast, Kakashi said. He suddenly disappeared as the three sat there. Sasuke sighed. Well, I guess it's time to go home, Naruto said, standing up. Ino stood up as she followed Naruto down the stairs. Sasuke sighed as he followed them both. Later that night, Naruto and Sasuke ate dinner at the table with Minato and Mikoto. So how do you like your new sensei? Minato asked. Naruto smiled. I didn't think it would be Kakashi, but it makes sense, Naruto said. Minato smiled, nodding. It really did. Kakashi had the Sharingan. Naruto already had a 1 tomo from the Uchiha situation and unlocked the 2 tomo with training. And Sasuke will potentially unlock the 1 tomo in a few months. If you put everything together, it made perfect sense. But something bugs me. We're supposed to be doing something tomorrow, but he suggested we skip breakfast, Naruto said. Minato chuckled. I can't really say anything about it, but remember this. Teamwork is your greatest asset. Have faith in your team, Minato said. Naruto thought about it as he continued eating. The next day at noon, Ino stood at the training ground by herself. Where the hell is everybody? Ino screamed. I've been waiting at this dumb training ground for 3 hours and neither Naruto-kun, Sasuke, or Kakashi-sensei have came. What the hell is going on? Ino asked. As if on cue, Naruto and Sasuke walked up, their jet black hair flowing in the wind. Oh, hello, Ino. Naruto smiled as he gave Ino a slight wave. Ino's eyes lit up. Hello, Naruto-kun. Ino greeted with a blush. Sasuke just stood idly by. Sorry for being late, Ino. We just know how Kakashi-sensei is, Naruto stated. Ino sighed deeply. Now I'm beginning to know how he is, Ino said. Naruto suddenly realized something. Hey, Ino, did you skip breakfast? Naruto asked. Ino nodded. I knew she would. But she didn't know any better, Naruto thought. Here, take this. You better eat before we begin, Naruto said as he handed her a bento lunchbox. Ino looked down at the bento Naruto was holding. You made this all for me? Ino asked, hoping for a yes. Naruto smiled warmly. Yeah, I mean, I tried, but am not that good at making lunch, Naruto said, rubbing the back of his head in embarrassment. Ino swiftly took the lunchbox. Her eyes gleamed. A lunch made just for me by Naruto-kun, Ino thought as she began eating. Kakashi suddenly flashed down onto the ground, leaning on a tree. He eyed Ino. I thought I said skip lunch, Kakashi said, not looking up from his book. Sasuke stepped up. You suggested. You never actually told or ordered us to do anything, Sasuke stated. Kakashi glanced over at him. So you caught that, Kakashi said. Well, let's begin your Genin test, Kakashi said. Ino finished the lunch looking satisfied as she then looked at Kakashi. Test? Ino asked. But we've already had our Genin test, Ino said, obviously confused by the gray-haired Jonin's words. Kakashi shook his head. No, you 3 passed the test to be eligible for the real Genin test, Kakashi stated. Sasuke raised an eyebrow. So we passed the test at the academy just to be able to do this test? Sasuke asked. Kakashi nodded. Pretty much, Kakashi said. Unfortunately for you guys, this test will be much harder. Have a 60% success rate, Kakashi said. He walked over to them. For this test, you will have to get bells for you to pass, 1 bell for each of you, Kakashi said. The 3 glanced towards Kakashi's hip to see 2 bells. Kakashi senior. There's only 2 bells, Ino said, pointing to his hip. Kakashi gave her an eye smile as he nodded. Only 2 of you will pass. The one of you who doesn't get a bell will be sent back to the academy, Kakashi stated. Ino's heart sunk at that very moment. She looked at Sasuke and Naruto, who didn't seem fazed. They didn't care, because they were the strongest out of the 3. She was obviously the weakest. She wouldn't be able to get one. All her hopes and dreams had been crushed, being on a team with Naruto, all of it down the drain. Naruto turned to her as he placed his hand on her head. Don't worry, Ino, we've got this, Naruto said. Ino looked up at him with a slight blush. Now you have until sunset to get the bells. If not, you all fail, Kakashi said. Now let's begin, Kakashi said. He walks calmly over to a tree, leaning against it, reading a book. The 3 jumped into different directions, with Sasuke and Naruto jumping in the same direction. Naruto looked over at Sasuke behind the bushes. Hey Sasuke, do you understand what's going on? Naruto asked. Sasuke nodded. I don't know why, but he wants us to work against each other, Sasuke stated. Naruto nodded. And the 2 people only passing thing. That has to be a lie, Naruto said. Sasuke nodded. I've never seen a 2-man team, Sasuke stated. So what does he want us to do? Naruto asked. Sasuke thought about it for a second. Teamwork. They both yelled in unison. Remember what your dad said last night? Sasuke asked. Naruto nodded. About teamwork being your greatest asset, Naruto said. Let's go tell Ino, Naruto said. Sasuke nodded as they leaped around the trees. Kakashi flipped a page on his book with a blush on his face. He glanced around, seeing multiple chakra signatures in the same area. Could they have figured it out? Kakashi thought. Kakashi heard sizzling as suddenly the tree he was on blew up. Kakashi jumped away as suddenly he heard flares of lightning. Get ready, Kakashi-sensei. Naruto yelled as lightning covered his fists and his 2 Tomo Sharingan looked at him. Naruto leaped towards Kakashi as he threw a punch. Kakashi leaned out of the way mid-air as he grabbed Naruto's arm and elbowed him with tremendous force to the ground. Naruto hit the ground with a large thud as he immediately got up. Kakashi landed on the ground, Katan. Ryuka no Jutsu, Sasuke yelled as he breathed in and heaved out a massive dragon made of fire towards Kakashi, who was just landing. Bringing out the big guns already has to be a result of Minato's and Mikoto's training, Kakashi thought. Kakashi went through hand signs as Suiton. Suiton no Jutsu, Kakashi yelled as water particles formed out of the ground, making a water dragon. The water dragon roared as they both crashed into each other. Kakashi felt a presence appear behind him. Kakashi quickly got a kunai out as he clashed with Naruto's lightning fist. Not a good idea to put lightning with metal, Kakashi-sensei. Naruto channeled lightning chakra into the kunai as Kakashi got shocked with 100 volts as Kakashi's eyes widened. Kami, that hurts. Kakashi yelled as he felt his hands were burning. Kakashi jumped back as Naruto instantly pounced back at him. Naruto threw a jab as Kakashi leaned out of the way and punched him in the face. Naruto groaned as he bent down and sent a speedy uppercut to Kakashi's chin. Kakashi narrowly leaned back as he kicked Naruto away from him. Naruto hit a tree as 3 kunais sped toward Kakashi. Kakashi got out a kunai of his own and blocked it. Damn it, even with the speed of my lightning technique, I can't land a hit on him. Is this the power of a Jonin? Naruto thought. Naruto's hands and feet suddenly bursted with lightning chakra. A real challenge. Naruto yelled. Kakashi's sweat dropped. Oh no, I've brought out his competitive side, Kakashi thought. Naruto was an absolute demon when he was in that state, and he knew it was only going to get worse. Naruto flashed away and appeared in blinding speeds in front of Kakashi. Kakashi channeled lightning chakra in his hands. That was the only way he'll be able to take Naruto's hits. Naruto bruffer back his arm and punched Kakashi right in the chest. Kakashi let off a slight cough as he threw an elbow at Naruto. Naruto leaned to the side as he hit Kakashi in the vest, then follows with an uppercut to the chin. Kakashi's body lifted off the ground as Naruto flashed behind him and delivered multiple hits to his back, sending him crashing into the ground. Kakashi got up quickly just in time to dodge another punch. I'll have to get serious a little, or he'll cause me serious injuries, Kakashi thought. Naruto went through hand signs, futon, Kyushu no Tashi, Naruto yelled. A blast of wind propelled Naruto at great speeds towards Kakashi. Kakashi got out a kunai as Naruto went through hand signs while speeding through the air. Futon, Okiradashi Kaze, Naruto yelled. Naruto aimed his hand towards the ground as wind bursted out from his hands, sending him in the sky. Kakashi's eyes narrowed at the airborne Naruto before he saw something. Kakashi saw Sasuke was behind Naruto before he went in the sky, who was going through hand signs. Katan, Eureka no Jutsu. Sasuke yelled. Sasuke blew multiple fireballs towards Kakashi. Kakashi's Sharingan flared as he went through the same hand signs. Katan, Eureka no Jutsu. Kakashi yelled as he blew multiple fireballs towards the oncoming ones. Kakashi suddenly felt a hand on his back as he saw Ino place her explosion tag on his back. Kakashi's eyes widened as he tried to reach for it, but suddenly got hit with a devastating backhand to TH face, sending him shooting into the trees. Gah! Kakashi's face burned like hell. He forgot all about Naruto. He heard sizzling around him as his eyes widened. Boom! A sudden boom of multiple explosion tags went off, sending him flying. Naruto's Sharingan focused on Kakashi, who was going slow in his eyes. He waited for a second before he threw a kunai with precise speed. Dud! The kunai hit the tree with a dud as the bells were attached to the tree as Kakashi landed. Kami, that was intense, Kakashi said. Kakashi looked to his hip to see the bells gone and Sasuke running to them. Kakashi dashed off towards the tree as they both grabbed for it. Ino suddenly grabbed the bells, smiling. Ring ring, ring ring. The alarm sounded off, just in time. Naruto yelled, "AA!" He rushed over. Sasuke stood up. Great job, Ino. If you weren't there, he would have grabbed them, Sasuke said. And if you didn't grab them, we would have been out of time and failed, Naruto said with a smile. Ino blushed at all the praise. Kakashi stood up. So Ino, you have both bells. You can either keep one and give the other to one of them, or give them both to each of them, Kakashi said. Ino looked confused as she looked at Naruto. I was wrong. Naruto sadly looked down. He thought he had everything right. Sasuke sighed. This was very annoying. Ino looked down while sighing deeply. You two deserve it more than me, Ino said as she handed them both one of the bells. Kakashi smiled widely. You all pass, Kakashi said. Ino's eyes widened. We did it, Ino yelled as she hugged them both, enveloping them. Naruto smiled the biggest smile ever. We're a team, Naruto said in absolute happiness. Chapter 8. First Mission. Months later. Ino, do you have eyes on the target? Kakashi asked from a walkie-talkie. Ino gulped. Why yes, Kakashi-sensei, target is in the alley, responded Ino, who was looking a cat right in its eyes. Okay, calmly approach the target, Kakashi instructed. Ino took a deep breath, trying to calm her nerves. Approaching target, Ino said, informing everybody on the walkie-talkie. Ino stepped slowly towards the cat, holding both her arms out. The cat meowed slowly. Suddenly screams and malicious meows sounded out on the walkie-talkie. Ino? Sasuke called from the walkie-talkie, hearing all of the ruckus. Ino breathed rather heavily on the walkie-talkie. Target is heading over to Naruto-kun, Ino said, panting hardly. A meow sounded out in front of Naruto as he narrowed his eyes. The cat stared intently at Naruto, letting out a slow meow once again. Now, brat, the Kyuubi yelled. Naruto dove for the cat, as you could hear meows and scratches of the cat clawing at Naruto. Naruto backed up. Damn it, Naruto yelled, holding his face as it scratched up badly. Naruto looked at the cat. He'll have to use a little force, Naruto said darkly as flames enveloped his hands. A meow of pain sounded out through the leaf. Minutes later. Naruto stood in front of Team 7 holding the cat. Bastard, Naruto said in anger. Kakashi's sweat dropped looking at the cat. Naruto, wasn't the cat gray? Kakashi asked. Naruto smiled but stayed quiet. Kakashi sighed. He knew for sure that was the cat they were looking for, but it looked like Naruto had burned it with his flames. Naruto inspected it before shrugging. I think it looks better with the black spots, Naruto said. Kakashi sighed. Lost pet Tora found, mission completed, Kakashi stated. Alright, let's turn this into the Hokage and get another mission, Kakashi said. At the Hokage's office. Tora, don't you ever run away from me again, a lady said as she hugged the cat rather tightly. The cat meowed loudly. Sheesh, I understand why it ran away, the Kyuubi said. Naruto chuckled a bit. Minato smiled. Another great job, Team 7, Minato said. What mission would you like next? Mr. Kobayashi's garden needs watering. The Inuzuka clans do dash. No, Naruto interrupted. Naruto sighed. Dad, why can't we get a C rank? Naruto asked. Minato shook his head. Again, Naruto, my name is Hokage inside this office, Minato stated. And unfortunately that decision is not up to me, it is up to your sensei, responded Minato as Sasuke and Naruto looked at Kakashi. Come on, Kakashi-sensei, we've been doing D ranks for months, Naruto stated. Can we at least do one C rank? I don't want to be doing D ranks my whole ninja career, Ino asked, chiming in. Kakashi's sweat dropped. The whole team had been asking for a mission other than C rank. Please, Kakashi-sensei, Ino asked, clasping her hands together. Naruto joined her as they both kept repeating please. Kakashi sighed, giving in. I guess we could do a C rank, Kakashi said. Yes, Naruto and Ino said in near unison. I don't know what I would have did if he said no, Sasuke thought. Give us a C rank, Hokage-sama, Kakashi told Minato. Minato nodded as he flipped through pages. Here is one we just got a day ago, Minato stated. Naruto's eyes lit up. You ready, Kyuubi? What if we have to protect a princess? Naruto thought. The Kyuubi chuckled. I bet you'd like that, the Kyuubi responded. Naruto shrugged. Go to the land of waves and protect a brigged builder, Minato stated. Kakashi shrugged. We'll take it, Kakashi said. Minato nodded as he pressed a button. Shinomi, please bring the bridge builder in, Minato said. A buzz was heard as a female's voice came through. Yes, Hokage-sama, Shinomi responded. You haven't even been outside the seal, Naruto thought. That doesn't mean anything, brat. I could probably live my whole life as a human before you get a girlfriend, the Kyuubi said. Naruto scoffed as their earlier conversation had somehow turned into an argument. The key word there is probably furball, Naruto said. The door to the Hokage's office slammed open with a man standing there swaying. Naruto blinked, coming out of his thoughts. What the? A bunch of snot-nosed kids. The man asked as he carried a bottle of sake with him, stepping into the office. The man drank out of the bottle, leaning onto the door. And you with the black hair, do you expect me to think you're a ninja? The man asks, pointing at Sasuke. Sasuke blinked. What did I do? Sasuke asked himself. He was being quiet the whole time. I am Tazuna, a master bridge builder, Tazuna stated. I've hired you for one thing alone, and that is to protect me while I build the bridge, even if it costs you your life, Tazuna stated as he took another sip out of his sake. I don't like the guy already, the Kyuubi said. Naruto sighed. We'll just have to deal with it, furball, Naruto thought. Kakashi clapped his hands together. Alright, you guys should pack all of your stuff. We're going to be heading out in an hour or two, Kakashi stated. Naruto grinned. Finally a real mission, Naruto thought as he walked out the door, followed by Sasuke. Ino walked out also with a smirk. At the gates. Everybody was at the gate as Sasuke walked out. I've never been outside of the village before, Sasuke thought as he looked around. Birds chirped in the distance as the sun gleamed down on them all. The land of waves is about a day and a half out, Kakashi stated. Ino's eyes widened as she realized, don't tell me we're going to be sleeping in the wild. Ino yelled. Kakashi's sweat dropped as he nodded. We'll have to catch our own food and sleep in tents, Kakashi stated. Ino sulked in a corner, murmuring to herself, I'm too pretty for this, I can't be living like an animal, Ino murmured. Kakashi shook his head. She'd probably rather be a makeup artist than a ninja. Are you sure they can protect me? Look at the girl, she looks weak and frail, Tazuna said. Ino looked towards Tazuna. Really, she looks like she hasn't fought a day in her life. What can she offer? Tazuna asked. Ino growled. Oh, I'll show you what I can offer. Ino yelled as she tried to make her way towards Tazuna, but Sasuke was holding her back. You can't hurt the client, Ino, Sasuke told her. Ino growled. Why did we have to get this old geezer to guard? Ino said, making sure Tazuna heard her. Humph. Tazuna grunted as he didn't respond. Naruto looked around. Hey Kyuubi, you feel that? Naruto asked. The Kyuubi nodded. We're being watched, Naruto said to the Kyuubi. Naruto's Sharingan sprung to life as he channeled more chakra in it. Naruto saw two purple figures out the corner of his eye, but made sure not to look in the direction. They're purple. They're planning to kill, right? Naruto asked. The Kyuubi nodded. Naruto couldn't see the real body of the figure. He could only see the emotions of the figure formed into a body due to the Kyuubi's power. Naruto could channel chakra into his eyes to see emotions of anybody. We should stay quiet about it until it actually gets dangerous, Naruto thought. The group walked. My feet are killing me, Ino said, wiping sweat from her head. Sasuke's sweat dropped. We've been walking for 30 minutes, Ino, Sasuke stated. Ino shrugged. Feels like 30 hours, Ino complained. Naruto looked down the road with a questioning look as he saw a puddle. I could be wrong, but I don't think we've had any rain recently, Naruto thought. Naruto focused chakra into his eyes as his eyes widened slightly. Kakashi walked with the group, Tazuna in front of him and the three genin in front. He had seen the puddle too, but hadn't said anything. Let's see how my students handle the situation, Kakashi thought. Naruto turned to Sasuke, who looked back curiously. Naruto's fists flared slightly with lightning chakra. The group passed by the puddle. I don't see any danger though, Sasuke thought. But as soon as he said that, chains flew from behind. Naruto's eyes flared with the two tomo as his fists enveloped in lightning chakra. What dash? Just then Kakashi got enveloped in chains, rip. Naruto's eyes widened as you could hear Kakashi's flesh ripping. The two men pulled the chains more as Kakashi screamed out in pain, blood gushing everywhere. Stop hurting sensei, Ino said, but her words were nothing but a whisper. Ino's legs shook uncontrollably. Were they all going to die? Naruto looked over towards Sasuke. Protect Ino and the old man, Naruto said. Sasuke nodded as he pulled out a kunai and stood in front of Ino and Tazuna. Naruto's feet enveloped in lightning as he disappeared with tremendous speeds, leaving a small crater in the ground. One of the man's eyes widened as he saw nothing but a blur. Slam. Naruto picked the man up and slammed him hard into the ground. Naruto brung his leg up. As it came roaring down, the man rolled out of the way as the kick hit the ground, making a crack in it. The man went through hand signs. Suetun, Mizu Pareto, yelled as he breathed in and shot multiple water bullets at Naruto. Naruto bent down on the ground. He suddenly shot off of the ground like a missile as he jumped off of multiple trees. Naruto pounced off the tree towards the man. Meizu, Gozu yelled out as Naruto slammed down from the tree with mighty force into his stomach. Blood spit out of his mouth, hitting the ground as he fell to the ground. Suiton, Mizu no Yaiba, the other brother screamed as a sword formed of water manifested in his hand. He leaped towards Naruto, cutting down on him. Naruto went through hand signs. "I've been wanting to test this out for a long time," Naruto said as he grinned maliciously. Naruto dodged the slash from the water blade, then ducked under it. Right-un, Kanri Shishitsu no Jutsu, Naruto yelled. Electricity filled Naruto's palm. He struck the brother in his chin, sending volts throughout his body. A large fart was heard, as you could hear. Well, let's just say things dropping in his pants. The brother held his gut as he lost all control of his bowels. Kakashi stepped from behind a tree clapping. "Wow, Sasuke and Naruto, you've done well," Kakashi stated. Naruto smiled. He had knew Kakashi was just faking the death thing because of his Sharingan. He saw Kakashi move at incredible speeds behind the tree after making a shadow clone. Sasuke sighed as he stood upright. "I did nothing to help Sensei," Sasuke stated as he didn't know why he was getting congratulated. Kakashi shook his head. "You protected the client and Ino. Seeing that Tazuna's the client, he's our top priority," Kakashi told the Uchiha. Sasuke nodded. He guessed he did good. "Just to let you know, I'm helping next time, Naruto," Sasuke said. Naruto, however, didn't hear him as he was rolling on the floor from laughter. The brother farted again as another thump was heard in his pants. "Man, they'll have to thank Jiraiya for that jutsu," Naruto said, wiping a tear from his eye. Few minutes later, Kakashi stood over the two men that had attacked them, the demon brothers of the mist, Gozu and Meizu. Kakashi stated, "What does our client have that would bring Nin like you two?" Kakashi asked. Tazuna sweated profusely beside a tree. "They were going to abandon the mission for him lying about it. We swear we know nothing besides what Gato told us," the two brothers said in perfect unison. Kakashi raised an eyebrow. "Gato?" Kakashi asked. One of them nodded. "He hired us for a job, to kill that bridge builder," the brother said. Kakashi turned to Tazuna, who jumped at his gaze. "I didn't think we'd be fighting that fast," Naruto said. Sasuke nodded. "But you took them on while I had to protect the bridge builder and Ino. I wish I could have fought," Sasuke said, rather annoyed. Naruto chuckled a bit as he stood on a tree branch, his hair flowing in the wind. Sasuke looked up at Naruto. He had never noticed, but Naruto looked different. It felt like just the other day they were kids. Now Naruto had a better build and still was training. Naruto still had his weights on. Sasuke blinked. How fast was he without the weights? Naruto-kun defeated them both with no problem, Ino said as her eyes filled with hearts. Kakashi turned to the group. "We'll have to turn back," Kakashi said. Naruto sighed as he jumped down from the tree. He knew this would happen. "It seems our client lied to us about the mission," Kakashi said as Tazuna jumped a bit. "Let's turn back, please," Tazuna said, interrupting Kakashi. "Please, we can't turn back now. The village is in danger. Gato he's taken all of our money and imprisoned us in the land of waves. He's taken control of the village and kills us for anything we do," Tazuna pleaded. He couldn't let it end like this. Naruto raised an eyebrow. "I thought this was a bridge building mission," said the Kyuubi. Kakashi shook his head. "I'm sorry, sir, but we can't continue," Kakashi stated. "I can't endanger my students any further. You've already lied about the details of the mission," Kakashi said sternly. Kakashi didn't like how Tazuna had endangered his students. If things hadn't gone right, or if Sasuke and Naruto weren't basically prodigies, they would have almost surely died. "I think we should help him, Kakashi-sensei," Naruto chimed in, stepping up. Tazuna looked up with hope in his eyes. Naruto growled lowly in anger. "I don't know about you, but I can't sit idly by and let a small village be taken over and get killed off slowly," said Naruto with irritation. Naruto clenched his fists. "The man has taken all their money, won't let them leave, doesn't help them in the slightest. And on top of that kills anybody who disobeys him," Naruto stated, going over all the things Tazuna had just told the group. Tazuna smiled. Seemed he had judged them too early. Kakashi sighed, but that was just like Naruto. "I'm with Naruto-kun on this one, sensei," Ino said. Sasuke nodded. He couldn't let this happen to innocent people. "I guess we can help," said Kakashi a little reluctantly. Tazuna smiled widely. "Oh, thank you so much," Tazuna said gratefully. But you'll have to inform us about everything that's really going on tonight before we arrive in the land of waves, Kakashi told Tazuna, who nodded in response. Kakashi shook his head. Mikoto is going to kill me, Kakashi said as he cried thinking about it. How ya hanging, furball? Naruto asked. The QB side the brat knew he didn't like the name, but still decided upon antagonizing him. If you're done joking, I want to speak to you about something, the QB stated. Naruto raised an eyebrow. It's about my power, the QB said. What do you mean? Naruto asked. Do you remember when I told you about all the powers I offer? The QB asked. Naruto nodded, still confused. I need to start training you to use my power, the QB stated. You're strong on your own, but just in case I'd want you to have my tails, the QB said. Ah, QB, you care about me. You're making me blush, Naruto said jokingly. You can call it off, the QB said annoyed. Wait, QB, I was just joking, relax, Naruto said trying to justify it. Come on, QB, it was a joke, Naruto said before going silent. Emotional fox, Naruto thought. In an unknown location. They've been gone for 2 days now. They should have been back by now with the bridge builder's body. A person with a mask said, their black hair flowing beautifully behind them. 2 men sat on a couch, one with short black hair and bandages wrapping around his face, as the man was holding a rather large sword. The other man was gigantic, towering over everyone in the room, his blonde hair long. Zabuza Kushimaru, a rather short man, yelled, entering the room. I thought you two were great mercenaries. What does it take to kill one puny bridge builder? The man yelled. Zabuza pointed the sword to his neck, making the man gulp. Shut the hell up, Gato. Besides, if they aren't back by tonight, I'll go out myself, Zabuza told Gato. Gato grunted. Both of them act all high and mighty. I can't wait to get rid of them, Gato thought as he walked out the door. The tall man Kushimaru sighed. Are your man really that incompetent they can't kill a bridge builder? Kushimaru asked. Zabuza growled. I don't see any of your men moving a muscle, you brick-headed freak, Zabuza barked at Kushimaru. Kushimaru chuckled. You talk a big game. Why don't we settle it? Kushimaru offered. Zabuza got up. We can settle it right now, Zabuza yelled. Kushimaru stood up as both the men drew their blades. The masked person from earlier flashed in between them. Zabuza-sama, Kushimaru-san, please do not fight, we are allies at the moment, the person said. Zabuza groaned, sitting down. Doesn't matter anyway. Gato wouldn't pay us if we destroyed his mansion because of our fight, Zabuza said. If you were that powerful, Kushimaru muttered in a normal voice, wanting Zabuza to hear him. What the hell did you say, you masked freak? Zabuza asked, clenching his sword tightly. The masked person's sweat dropped. These two were the worst possible teammates to ever exist. Chapter 9. The Demon of the Mist. Naruto stretched. The entirety of Team 7 were rowing on a boat towards the land of waves. Tazuna, Kakashi called the man's name, looking over to him. I think you need to tell us a few things before we continue this mission. Or else I'll have to cut this mission short when you are dropped off, Kakashi said. Tazuna stayed quiet for a bit. Thick fog covering their surroundings as the only things heard were the paddles softly hitting the water. Tazuna nodded. I have no choice but to tell you, seeing as you helped me even though I lied about the details of the mission, Tazuna stated. Sasuke turned to Tazuna, also interested in why the people were after him. The one wants to take my life is a rather short man by the name of Gato, Tazuna informed the group. He's one of the wealthiest men in the world. The shipping magnate Gato, Tazuna said with a little fear behind his voice. Kakashi looked like he had been hit with something. Gato of Gato Transport? He's a business leader. I didn't know it was that Gato, Kakashi stated. Tazuna nodded. Gato is a very powerful tycoon from a company, yes. But below the surface, the man sells drugs and contraband using any gang or ninja he can find, Tazuna stated. It was exactly a year ago when Gato came to the land of waves and used his wealth to take control of our transport and shipping, Tazuna informed Team 7. This Gato man is nothing but evil, Naruto thought. The QB just yawned in response. He also killed anyone who stood in his way, said Tazuna, and that is why he wishes to kill me. If I succeed in building this bridge, it will break his hold over our land, Tazuna said. The boat slowly turned into a tunnel as it went dark for a few seconds. The group exited the tunnel as Naruto looked around. What a dump. Do you humans really live like this? The QB asked Naruto. Naruto scoffed. You do realize you used to live in the wild before all of this, right? Naruto asked. The Kyuubi chuckled. It was way better than this, the Kyuubi said. The boat came to a stop as they reached the land. One after another they stepped off of the boat and onto the ground. Thank you for doing this, Tazuna said, thanking the man who brought them. The man just nodded before going off. Tazuna turned to the group. Now we're heading to my home, and I expect to get there in one piece, Tazuna said as they all nodded in response before walking. Naruto looked around swiftly before he turned to Kakashi. Seems Naruto's thinking the same as me, Kakashi thought. Since we defeated those Chunin, the next people we face are going to be way stronger, thought Naruto. But that begs the question, how much stronger? Naruto wondered. Naruto suddenly threw a kunai to the left of them, barely grazing Ino. Ah! Ino screamed. What are you doing, Naruto? Sasuke asked. Naruto went to where he threw the kunai. A bunny laid there like it had barely escaped death. Oh, it's only a rabbit, Naruto said, looking at it. Kakashi raised an eyebrow. A snow bunny? Kakashi wondered. Their fur only turns white when there's not much sunlight and the days are short. Has to be used for a replacement jutsu, Kakashi thought. Naruto's Sharingan sprung to life. He could see it, whoever it was. Naruto looked to the left, another one, but much taller. And this aura he was feeling. Naruto turned to Kakashi as they both locked eyes. Get down now, Kakashi and Naruto yelled in unison. Ino looked confused as Sasuke jumped and tackled both Tazuna and Ino to the ground. A absolutely gigantic sword swung past them, not even a second later. As if Sasuke was even a bit slower, they would have died. The blade hit the tree, sticking into it as a person stood on the handle looking down. Another figure jumped down from a tree. Kakashi's eyes widened. Zabuza Momochi and Kushimaru Korare, two rogue ninja of the mist, Kakashi said, looking at them both. Zabuza chuckled a bit. I'm surprised I'm so famous to have Kakashi of the Sharingan know me, Zabuza said, almost honored. Kushimaru just looked at them, say, how about I propose a deal? Hand over the old man, and I'll let you and your brats go, Zabuza said. Kakashi narrowed his eyes at the man. No response, huh? Your brats could have probably had a good life, Kakashi, Zabuza said. Naruto's lightning chakra flared. Kakashi held out his hand. No. I'm sorry, Naruto, but not even you are a match for the two of them, much less 1 inch, Kakashi stated. Naruto looked up. Don't tell me you're going to fight two rogue ninja by yourself, Kakashi-sensei, Naruto said in utter disbelief. Kakashi lifted up his forehead protector. I'll have to, Kakashi said as his eyes opened, showing the 3 Tomo Sharingan. You guys run as fast as you can with the client, Kakashi told the group. Tazuna stood there with Ino shaking by his side. He was also scared, but they were the enemy. He had to at least try to show them he wasn't scared. But go now, Kakashi yelled. Naruto looked up at him with a rather stern look. I'm sorry, Kakashi-sensei, but I will not leave you, Naruto said as his lightning chakra flared. He wasn't going to leave Kakashi. Sure, Kakashi was a jonin, and a very known one at that because of his strength. But two rogue ninja with swords that have special techniques was just suicide. Kakashi shook his head with a slight smirk. He knew Naruto wouldn't leave him. That's just how Naruto was after all. He'd protect his comrades till death. Brave kid you have there, Kakashi, Zabuza said as he looked at Naruto. Suddenly Sasuke, Ino, and Tazuna froze. Sasuke's eyes bulged out of his head. What the hell is going on? Sasuke asked in his thoughts. Naruto looked up at Zabuza, who was releasing killer intent in a massive amount at that. Ino threw up as her whole body quivered. You call that killer intent? Naruto asked, looking at Zabuza. In truth, Naruto felt like Ino. He was scared. His heart was pounding hard, and he wanted to throw up. But he knew better than to show the enemy he was afraid. Zabuza smirked. I like that one, Zabuza said. Naruto's sweat dropped. A what? Sorry. Zabuza, is it? I'm not into guys, Naruto said, stepping back a little. Zabuza looked at Naruto with a dumbfounded look. What? No, kid, I didn't mean it, Lee. You know what, never mind, Zabuza said, shaking his head. I'll take the two boys. You take the girl, the bridge builder, and Kakashi of the Sharingan, Zabuza told Kushimaru. Kushimaru stayed quiet as he got out his new Abara. Don't go and get defeated by children, Zabuza. After all, you are that weak, Kushimaru stated. Zabuza growled. You always talk shit, you masked giant. Just keep your opponents in mind, Zabuza told the man. Zabuza jumped down while simultaneously grabbing his gigantic sword. I wonder how long you'll last, Zabuza said as he dashed off towards the group. Naruto got ready as he stood in his boxer stance. Sasuke, you'll have to help me out here, Naruto told him. Sasuke nodded as Zabuza suddenly appeared in front of Naruto. Naruto's eyes widened as he swiftly ducked a slash from the sword. Naruto jumped away, throwing kunai at Zabuza. Zabuza simply deflected it as he felt Sasuke moving towards him. Sasuke came flying down with a kick as Zabuza dodged easily with a smirk. Sasuke followed up with a jump and another kick towards Zabuza's chin. Zabuza leaned back slightly, only to be knocked in the head with a swift haymaker from behind by Naruto. Zabuza went flying into a tree as he hit it, making dust cover the area. Naruto chuckled. I didn't think it would be that easy, Naruto said, laughing. Sasuke smirked. Zabuza flashed in front of them, both catching them by surprise as he swung at Naruto. Naruto screamed out in pain as he got sent through multiple trees with tremendous force. Sasuke's eyes widened as he took out a kunai quickly and stabbed towards Zabuza. Zabuza grabbed Sasuke's arm, punching him in the stomach before he threw Sasuke up and went through hand signs. Suetun, Sueho no Jutsu, Zabuza yelled as he took a deep breath. Water formed in his mouth as steam flowed out of his mouth a bit before he spit out boiling water towards Sasuke. Sasuke's yells rung out throughout the area as Zabuza jumped up and batted Sasuke away to where Naruto went. With Naruto, he slowly stood up, looking down. There was a huge cut on his arm. Naruto sighed as it leaked full of blood. That was careless even for you, brat, the Kyuubi told Naruto in anger. You let down your guard, not even knowing if your opponent was defeated or not, the Kyuubi said. Naruto sighed, even he had to admit that was rather stupid of him. Boom. A boom went off right by Naruto as he looked to his side to see Sasuke getting up slowly on the ground. Zabuza leaped out of the trees, landing on the water. Zabuza looked at the two with a smirk. I have to say that first hit was unexpected, but rather weak, Zabuza told Naruto. Naruto growled in response. And unluckily for you, that was your first and last hit, Zabuza said as he picked his sword up over his shoulder, looking at the two like they were prey or even insects compared to him. With Kakashi, Kushimaru looked at the three. Well, this shouldn't be hard, seeing as the girl looks like she has the skill of an academy student and the bridge builder is an old man, Kushimaru stated. Ino gulped. Did she really look that weak to look like she has the skill of an academy student? So the only one I'll have to worry about is you, Kakashi of the Sharingan, Kushimaru said as he pointed his new Abara at Kakashi. Kakashi just eyed him with his Sharingan, waiting for any movement. Kushimaru dashed off at tremendous speeds, as to Kakashi, it just looking like a normal Chunin run. Kushimaru stabbed at Kakashi, who jumped out the way quickly. Kakashi went through hand signs. Katan, Hidora in no Jutsu. Kakashi yelled, finishing his hand signs as he blew three intense flames at Kushimaru at close range. Kushimaru leaped backwards before flipping onto a tree sideways. The three fireballs slammed into the tree, but Kushimaru jumped off it. Kakashi's eyes spun greatly as he looked at his surroundings, trying to find his enemy. Kakashi's eyes widened suddenly as he went flying into multiple trees. Thought the amazing Kakashi of the Sharingan would be stronger, Kushimaru said. He flicked his wrist, making 5 explosion tag kunais come into his hand as he threw them in the direction Kakashi had went flying. Even Kakashi-sensei can't take on this guy. Who is he? Ino said, talking to Tazuna, who were both hiding behind a rock, peeking every now and then at the battle. His name is Kushimaru Kurare, one of the legendary swordsmen of the mist, Tazuna told the blonde. I would have never guessed Gato would send 2 ninja as powerful as those two just to kill me. Tazuna said this was just overkill. A large boom went off as smoke and fire enveloped where Kakashi was. Kushimaru clicked his tongue. The man doesn't seem to be moving, Kushimaru said. His head snapped to both Ino and Tazuna. It seems I'll finish the mission sooner than expected, Kushimaru said. Ino's sweat dropped as Kushimaru stepped closer. Tazuna backed up. Hey, girl, PR protect. Me, it's your, isn't it? Tazuna yelled at Ino. Ino's eyes widened. Like hell? You lied about the details. This isn't the job I signed up for, Ino told him. Tazuna gulped. With Naruto and Sasuke. Zabuza leaned backwards, dodging a kick as he slapped Sasuke away. Naruto flashed above him as he sent a kick towards Zabuza's head with mighty force. Ripples went through the water as the hit connected, sending Zabuza in the water below. Naruto flipped in the air, landing by Sasuke. Damn, this guy is treating us like insects, Sasuke said. Naruto nodded as he panted. Zabuza sprung out of the water, holding his head. Naruto sighed in defeat. Oh, Kami, whyyyy. Naruto yelled. They were getting slapped around like children. Zabuza chuckled. This has been fun, but I'll have to cut it short, Zabuza said. Zabuza went off at amazing speeds as he appeared in front of Naruto, grinning madly. Naruto's eyes widened, as did Sasuke's. Zabuza swung his sword as blood splattered everywhere. Naruto dropped to the ground. What happened? Naruto asked in his thoughts. Naruto slowly looked down to see Zabuza's sword in his stomach. FOX, Naruto said in his thoughts. He felt like everything was fading away. Kid, the QB yelled as he looked frantic. Zabuza extracted the sword as Naruto's body dropped to the ground. Naruto's thoughts faded as he didn't even have the energy to think. Stay with me, kid. The QB yelled as he started pumping chakra into Naruto. Naruto, Sasuke yelled, looking down at Naruto. Sasuke dropped to his knees as he held Naruto with tears welling up. Blood coughed out of Naruto's mouth. Wait, no, don't go. I've already lost my mom and dad. I can't lose my best friend. Sasuke yelled, holding Naruto close. Tears streamed down his eyes. Damn it, it's all that bridge builder's fault. Sasuke yelled in pure anger. If only the man hadn't lied about the details of the mission, they could have sent out stronger people. I would have liked more of a challenge from the boy, Zabuza said. Sasuke looked at Zabuza with the one-tomo Sharingan in his eye. You bastard. Sasuke yelled as he sat Naruto down gently. I'll kill you right where you stand. For him, Sasuke said as his eyes softened a bit before returning to rage. Sasuke dashed off towards Zabuza. You'll soon meet your friend in the afterlife. Zabuza yelled as he brung up his sword. Give me a great fight. Zabuza yelled as he swung his sword down. Chapter 10. The overpowering force of the QB. Sasuke narrowly dodged a slash from Zabuza as he jumped into the air. Sasuke went through hand signs, Katam, Karyu, Enden. Sasuke yelled as he breathed in deeply. He blew out hardly as intense flames came out of his mouth, roaring towards Zabuza. Zabuza grinned as he went through hand signs. Suetun, Suryuden no Jutsu. Zabuza yelled out the technique. Water rised up as it began to gather together in the air. The water formed a dragon that roared towards the fire Sasuke had blew. Steam went off as this was just what Zabuza wanted. Both jutsus went away as nothing but steam was there. Sasuke's eyes darted around. You're hiding now, you bastard? Sasuke yelled out in anger. A chuckle went off behind Sasuke as he turned around swiftly, ready to attack or defend against one. Far from it, Zabuza said as he bursted out of the steam with pure speed. Sasuke's eyes widened as he ducked under a slash to the head that could have cut it clean off. While Sasuke was ducking, he swept at Zabuza's legs, trying to disrupt his balance on the water. Splash! Sasuke's eyes went wide as his foot went through Zabuza, a water clone. Sasuke thought, but it was too late. Zabuza smirked as he swung his sword right towards Sasuke's torso. Gah! Sasuke screamed out in pain as he was absolutely launched. Skipping on the water. Zabuza went through one-handed hand signs. Mizumori Yuso no Jutsu, Zabuza said in a quieter voice than usual. Sasuke still skipped on the water as his arm was bleeding. At the very last second, he managed to block the slash to his torso from Zabuza with his arm. You should have left when you all had the chance, Zabuza said as his body formed out of the water. He hit Sasuke like a baseball, sending him flying into the trees. Boom. Sasuke smashed through 3 trees as his back hit another one, causing him to spit up blood. Sasuke breathed heavily. This guy was insane. He's not stronger than Naruto, or even as strong as Naruto. So if Zabuza had did that to Naruto, Sasuke wouldn't be able to touch him at all. No, that's not how I should be thinking right now, Sasuke thought as he slowly got up. He was determined. But I have no way to beat him, Sasuke thought. His eyes widened for a split second as it looked like he had an idea. I don't know if I can do it as good as Naruto, but I can't even land a hit on Zabuza. I don't have a choice, Sasuke said as lightning sparks went off around his body. Zabuza smirked. Since I hit a home run with that one, Zabuza said as he had on hand above his eyes. Flash. Zabuza went flying into a tree from a kick. Another flash went off as Zabuza got hit with multiple punches to the gut and face. Zabuza coughed up blood. Sasuke jumped up into the air spinning before he brought back his foot. His foot slammed into Zabuza's head, sending him flying again. Zabuza hit the water as he skidded. Zabuza flipped before landing. What the hell? Zabuza asked in confusion. He didn't see a thing that happened. Sasuke flashed a few feet away from Zabuza with an emotionless stare. Zabuza looked confused as he looked over Sasuke. You know the same move as that brat? Zabuza asked as lightning covered Sasuke's entire body. Sasuke stayed quiet as Zabuza's eyes observed him. Zabuza suddenly smirked. Seems you're not as experienced as the brat though, Zabuza said. Sasuke flinched in pain. Sasuke had no chakra control, and adding lightning chakra was a whole leap up from regular chakra control. And since Sasuke wasn't good in chakra control at all, the lightning was burning him. And not no regular burning, no way worse. The lightning felt like it was cooking his skin. You dumbass, you'll probably die within 5 minutes, Zabuza said smirking. Then I'll take you with me. Sasuke yelled as he flashed off. With Kakashi, Ino, and Tazuna. Kushimaru stepped closer, gripping his Nuabara. You've lived a long and great life, your time is up, old man, Kushimaru said as he brought his hand back and stabbed forward. Clash. Kakashi appeared in front of Tazuna with a kunai blocking the Nuabara. Kakashi's sweat dropped as the Nuabara had pierced the kunai and was right at Kakashi's neck. Kakashi gulped. Kushimaru retracted his sword as he looked at Kakashi behind his mask. Kushimaru just grunted as he stepped back. I assume we will begin our battle again, Kushimaru asked as Kakashi nodded, his eyes narrowed. The two stood there looking at each other before both flashed away. Kushimaru blocked a punch from Kakashi as Kakashi's leg flew up to the towering Kushimaru as he narrowly missed his chin. Kushimaru grabbed Kakashi's foot as he kicked Kakashi in his torso. Kushimaru followed up with letting go of Kakashi's foot and grabbing his head swiftly. Kakashi groaned in pain as Kushimaru kneed him in the face and kicked him in the stomach, all before Kushimaru grabbed his Nuabara and stabbed Kakashi in the stomach. Kakashi groaned as Kushimaru threw him. Kakashi gained his footing and landed on the ground as HR looked at his stomach. There was a hole bleeding badly the size of half a fist. Kushimaru rushed Kakashi again as Kakashi went through hand signs. Futon, Kaze no Yaiba. Kakashi yelled as he breathed in and heaved out wind. The wind cut through the ground as it hit Kushimaru. Even Kushimaru couldn't help but yelling as he let out a blood-curdling scream. The wind ripped through his clothes, cutting him deeply as blood splattered in different directions. The wind sent him flying. Kushimaru senses something behind him as he stomped his feet into the ground, stopping him, and turned around, stabbing with his Nuabara. Kakashi stood there with the Nuabara piercing his head. Kushimaru smirked. Kakashi-sensei. Ino yelled out. Kushimaru chuckled lowly before he heard something. Kakashi's body looked as if it was about to burst as Kushimaru's eyes widened. A large boom went off as Kushimaru gasped in pain. An explosion clone. Kushimaru went flying as he heard the sound of birds chirping and a low sizzling sound. Kushimaru tried to flip, but it was too late. Chidori. Kakashi yelled as he stabbed his hand upwards to where Kushimaru was. Kushimaru screamed loudly. His stomach had been pierced by Kakashi's Chidori. Kakashi threw Kushimaru onto the ground. Kakashi breathed heavily as he dropped to the ground. The hole in his stomach was bad. Kakashi's eyes widened as he dropped to the ground. Kushimaru laid on the ground with his Nuabara. He had just stabbed Kakashi in the stomach again before he brought the Nuabara up and stabbed it into Kakashi's chest. Die! Kushimaru yelled as he brought the Nuabara up and aimed for Kakashi's head. Ino's eyes widened. No sensei, Ino yelled. Kushimaru yelled as he fell limp on the ground. Tazuna stood there with a rock. Serves you right, you bastard, Tazuna said. Ino breathed a sigh of relief. Tazuna turned to Ino before shaking his head. Useless, Tazuna said. Ino flinched at the word as her eyes softened. With Naruto and Sasuke. Don't die on me, kid, the Kyuubi said as he tried to heal the wound. The Kyuubi could feel the boy's life fading away, and even the mindscape was slowly fading. Damn it, the Kyuubi yelled. He had to pump as much chakra as he could into the boy. But if I do, the tails will come out, the Kyuubi thought. If he pumped too much chakra into Naruto, he would form 1 or 2 tails, or maybe even 3. The QB heard yelling outside the mindscape. And that kid's going to kill himself. There's no doubt in my mind Naruto will go ballistic if he woke up to a dead Sasuke, the QB thought. The fox sighed deeply. He had no choice. The QB started pumping chakra into Naruto. In merely a few seconds, the mindscape started going back. The QB listened before he heard a heartbeat. The fox's eyes widened for a split second before he smiled. Naruto's eyes snapped open. "Good to see you're back," the QB said before breathing a sigh of relief. Naruto's eyes darted around as his Sharingan flared. Dark orange chakra enveloped Naruto as a burst of chakra went off. "Kid," the QB called out. Naruto slowly stood up, his wound healing. Naruto let out a low growl before it turned into a vicious roar. Naruto roared out. Sasuke breathed heavily as his skin had burn marks all over. The unstable lightning around Sasuke dissipated as he fell to the ground beside a tree. "I can't go on," Sasuke mumbled lowly. He didn't know how Naruto did it, but he knew one thing: he wasn't doing it ever again. Zabuza smiled as his chest and arm was bleeding badly. "You're not that bad, kid," Zabuza said as he lifted up his sword, "but unfortunately your life ends here." Zabuza yelled as he swung his sword down. A flash of red flashed in front of Sasuke. Boom! A earthquaking boom went off as Naruto appeared in blinding speed and kicked Zabuza with absolutely tremendous force to the head. Blood gushed out of Zabuza's mouth as his body hit the ground, causing the ground to shatter. "Naruto," Sasuke said, but everything was only a blur. He could only see a dark orange figure standing in front of him. Scolding hot chakra covered Naruto's body as he went through hand signs. Zabuza jumped backwards as he went through hand signs also. "Raiton, Reiku Kauzen no Jutsu," Naruto yelled in a demonic voice. "Doton, Iwain Wuru," Zabuza yelled as his hands slapped onto the ground. A massive and protected earth wall formed in front of Zabuza. Naruto had a wide grin on his face as he held out his hand. Zabuza didn't know what happened. He just flew through the air screaming in unearthly pain. Lightning completely enveloped Zabuza's body. It was the jutsu Naruto had did. It was way more powerful because of the QB's chakra. Naruto flashed behind the flying Zabuza as he clasped his hands together and slammed it into Zabuza's chest, sending him into the ground. Zabuza didn't have time to think as Naruto cocked his fist back and punched Zabuza in the chest. The ground cracked and trees uprooted from the godly force. "Kid, calm down," the QB yelled. He could hear Naruto's thoughts. He knew this would happen if he pumped his chakra into Naruto. "Kill, kill, 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 kill," Naruto thought. Naruto punched Zabuza in the face, sending shock waves through the ground. Naruto threw Zabuza in the air slightly and heaved his fist to Zabuza's face, sending him flying through trees. With Kakashi and the rest, Ino helped Kakashi to his feet. He was in bad condition. Luckily, Kushimaru didn't stab any vital organs. Thanks to you both," Kakashi said to Ino and Tazuna. Tazuna clicked his tongue. "She didn't do a thing. I hit him with a rock while she stood there," Tazuna said as he didn't understand why Ino was being congratulated. Kakashi chuckled lowly while Ino pouted. A large crash went off beside them as they all turned quickly. Zabuza laid on the ground, blood covering his face, as another crash went off, sending dust and debris everywhere. Kakashi's eyes narrowed. "Oh, Kami, not another enemy," Kakashi thought as he couldn't go another step without collapsing. The dust cleared as Naruto stood there as he swayed back and forth almost like he had no energy. He had never trained with the QB's chakra. It was potent ANF, dangerous by itself, but Three Tails was on another level. A level Naruto couldn't handle. Slowly the Three Tails went away as Naruto dropped to his knees. Ino ran over to Naruto quickly. He looked in bad shape. Naruto fell to the ground completely. "Naruto-kun," Ino yelled out in panic and worry. A gust of cold air whisked around before it stopped, letting a person be seen. A mask covered the person's face as they looked down. The person looked back up before bowing. "My apologies for the intrusion," the person said. Ino blinked. Who are you?" Ino asked, narrowing her eyes at the mysterious masked person. "I am a hunting mean sent by the village of Kirigakure," the masked person stated. "They've sent me to retrieve these missing mean. I thank you for defeating them both for me," the person said. Kakashi didn't say a word. He was trying to read anything he could on the person. The masked person picked up Zabuza, then Kushimara struggling to stand right up because of both the man being large and heavy. The person nodded to the three before jumping off slowly. Ino blinked. So we're just letting that person take them? Ino asked. Kakashi sighed. Let's just go to Tezuna's home, Kakashi said. Ino nodded as she picked up Naruto and started walking. Geez, Naruto's more heavy than he looks, Ino said as she took a small step. Kakashi chuckled a bit. Hey, wasn't there 4 of you? Tezuna asked. Kakashi blinked. Sasuke. Both Ino and Kakashi said in unison. Chapter 12. The Final Battle. Ino walked down a long and narrow path. Kakashi had asked to meet with her. She didn't know why, but the gray-haired Jonin said it was important. So the blonde off-course had to go. She turned to the right and saw Kakashi leaning against a tree looking at his book with a perverted smile. Ino's sweat dropped. I'd much rather you'd hide being a perv rather than showing everyone, Kakashi-sensei, Ino said. It'll probably have a bad effect on Naruto-kun, Ino added. Kakashi looked up from his book, giving the blonde his signature eye smile. Ah, Ino, you're finally here, Kakashi said with a slight wave of the hand. Ino nodded. I honestly thought you'd make me wait at least an hour, the Yamanaka said. She was thankful the man didn't. Kakashi's sweat dropped. Do you actually think that lowly of me? Kakashi asked, wanting an actual answer. What did you ask to see me for, Kakashi-sensei? Ino asked, ignoring the Jonin's questions as she would just hurt his feelings. Kakashi's head drooped before he brought it back up. Kakashi looked at Ino with a stern and firm look. Ino gulped a bit. It's about your strength, Kakashi told the blonde. Ino blinked in confusion. My strength? Ino said as she tilted her head to the side questioningly. Kakashi sighed, seeing that she didn't get it. I'm sorry to say this, but I've got to be honest here, Ino, Kakashi said, warning her of what he was about to say. You're holding this team back. Kakashi paused, letting his words sink in. Ino looked surprised. She knew she was weak. She had gotten carried on the backs of her teammates throughout all the missions. But she never thought Kakashi, being the person he was, would just say it. You don't take training seriously. You would much rather focus on your looks. You can't perform simple academy level or Genin level ninjutsu. And your taijutsu is shameful, Kakashi added. Each time the man said something, her pride dropped. You're a high-grade fangirl, Kakashi finished, as now Ino's pride was to the ground. In fact, it was non-existent. Kakashi looked at Ino. She had on a black shirt with a blue Yamanaka clan crest on the chest area, shinobi fishnets under leggings, and dark blue flip-flops with her makeup nicely done. Tell me, Ino, do you want to be a ninja? Kakashi asked, genuinely wanting an answer. Ino nodded slowly. If you want to be a kunoichi, I want you to act like it. I want you to train like you mean it, Kakashi said as he started to walk off. Besides, Naruto has been known to like strong, independent women with long hair, Kakashi said. You have the hair part. Now become strong, Kakashi said before he disappeared. Ino stood quietly, with a blush on her face. She had no reason not to believe Kakashi. After all, the man was the student of Naruto's father. He should be around them. She touched her hair, before her eyes filled with determination. I'm gonna become the strongest kunoichi there is. Ino yelled before she rushed off. Kakashi flipped a page in his book as he leaned against the tree on a branch. The Jonin smiled widely at his success. He had worried if Ino would listen or not, so he told her about Naruto's preference, which was true. 2 weeks later. We go to the forest far away from the house. Naruto sat in a tree meditating. The boy had went this far so he could train without any problems. Problems being his team seeing him. The Kyuubi was currently training Naruto. Naruto's eyes closed as he took a deep breath. The black-haired boy sat completely still. Slowly, orange chakra covered Naruto as he could feel his features changing. His teeth got sharper, his whisker marks grew as his face looked more animal-like. One tail swayed behind him. The Kyuubi stayed quiet as he watched Naruto carefully and closely. The fox looked for any sign that the boy was losing control. But to the Kyuubi's surprise, there was no sign. Naruto growled lowly as his nails grew and got sharper as a second tail slowly formed. The Kyuubi looked surprised. The first time he was training Naruto, and he had made it to the two-tailed state. Naruto growls grew even more louder as Naruto could feel rage building up. Come on, push. The Kyuubi yelled, trying to encourage the boy further. Naruto grunted and growled. The third tail slowly grew, but ultimately it couldn't even grow to half a tail as Naruto let out a mighty roar. "I can't do it," Naruto yelled out. The chakra slowly went away as Naruto breathed heavily. "Damn, is it usually that hard?" Naruto asked. The Uchiha had got tired in merely seconds. "Usually that hard? You went to the two-tail state without batting an eye," the QB said almost in disbelief. Naruto blinked. "Was that supposed to be hard or something?" Naruto asked. The QB shook his head. "With the amount of intelligence and power you have, it is to be expected that you can do that," the QB stated to the boy. "So I can use the two tails without any difficulty?" Naruto asked curiously. The QB nodded. "However, not the three tails. But it's not surprising. Some of my hosts haven't reached the three tails until High Jonin," the QB informed. Naruto's sweat dropped. That was a bit too long for him to wait. With Ino rushed Kakashi as she jumped up and spun around, rather sloppy, before she brung her leg back and kicked. Kakashi ducked slightly under it. Again, Kakashi ordered. Ino rushed once again, redoing the whole process. Sasuke watched Ino intently. He was actually proud of his teammate. Ino was actually growing at a steady pace. Sasuke wondered how strong his blonde teammate would actually be if she had been like this from the start. Obviously, she wouldn't be able to rival someone like Naruto. But if she had trained like this from the beginning, Sasuke had no doubt that she would definitely have been a challenge to him. Sasuke shook his head of the thoughts as he walked off into the house. Today was the day Tazuna was going to finish the bridge. Kakashi had some suspicions that both the missing Nin Wood were still alive. Sasuke thought about it. It did make sense. The missing Nin could have been an ally pretending to be an Hunter Nin. Sasuke pushed those thoughts to the side. He had to go find Naruto so they could leave. Later, Naruto breathed heavily, laying down in the grass. Unfortunately for the boy, training with the QB was no easy task. Sure, the two-tailed state gave him a bit of an advantage, but it was still tiring after the cloak disappeared. Naruto heard footsteps as he lifted up his head to see his fellow Uchiha. "You seem tired. Have you been training this entire time?" Sasuke asked. Naruto nodded. "Is it time to go already?" Naruto asked. He had hoped he would have at least a little break before they went off to finish the bridge. Sasuke nodded as Naruto hopped up quickly. "Oh, well, he had a job to do." Sasuke's sweat dropped. The endurance and stamina his friend had was rather ridiculous. Sasuke sighed before they walked off. 10 minutes later. The group was all in the kitchen. Naruto did a singular hand sign as 3 clones poofed into existence. Kakashi looked at the boy curiously, which Naruto noticed. "They'll be staying here. You know, just in case," Naruto said. The Jonin simply nodded. He understood why. Gato could easily take both Tsunami and her son. Tazuna stepped out of the bathroom as everyone got hit with a deadly odor. "Cough." "Geez, Tazuna, what did you cough?" "Eat," Ino asked. Tazuna blushed in embarrassment, ignoring the question. "Are we heading out now?" Kakashi asked, as even he was plugging his nose. Tazuna nodded. "I suggest we get it done as soon as possible and rid this land of that monster," Tazuna said, his tone firm. Kakashi nodded in agreement. The sooner the better, the Jonin thought. The group walked out the door as Kakashi put away his book. He had to be on top of his game. This was the last stretch. Anything could happen at any moment. So the Jonin had to be on his game. The rest of the team seemed to be thinking the same, as even Ino was looking around. She didn't have TH ability to sense like the rest of her team, but she still looked in every direction the enemy could possibly be. Tazuna looked calm. He felt rather protected since the first encounter was dealt with. He had no worries the team could do it again. At the bridge. It had been nearly 15 minutes since Team 7 arrived at the bridge. Naruto was getting rather suspicious. It would take Tazuna at least an hour or 2 for Tazuna to get finished. So the boy assumed the two, both Kushimaru and Zabuza, would appear as soon as possible to stop it from happening, since it was, well, their job. Naruto looked around the area. Thick fog started surrounding everyone. "Get ready," Naruto told everyone as everyone guards were up, ready to fight at the slightest movement. Kakashi instinctively uncovered his Sharingan, ready for anything. Ino looked around. "That Zabuza man does this every time he appears. What's with that?" Ino asked curiously. Kakashi nodded. It is a move known to the village of Kiri. A sudden sound of someone moving fastly through the air caught Kakashi's attention as he brought a kunai up to block it. Clash. Both the kunai Kakashi was holding and the Nuabara clashed. Kakashi could hear the kunai breaking slowly. It was now time to fight. Kakashi jumped back, creating distance. Kushimaru wasted no time rushing at Kakashi as the two got into a taijutsu battle. Kakashi swung swiftly with his right as Kushimaru blocked it with his left. Kushimaru followed up with elbowing Kakashi swiftly in the chin. Kakashi's head lifted up as he saw something making its way down to him. A large boom was heard as Zabuza cleaved his Kubi Kiribocho through the air. Kakashi got batted away with severe cuts on his arm. The cuts went deep. Even more than deep as Kakashi felt his bone had been cut through a little. Sasuke. Naruto yelled to the Uchiha. Sasuke leaped to Naruto's side as they both ran towards the two. Kushimaru glanced at Sasuke and Naruto before turning away. For the sake of the sword's men's reputation, please do not get defeated by those children again, Kushimaru stated sternly. Zabuza clicked his tongue as he stood up confidently. The last battle was nothing but a fluke. They won last 5 minutes this time, Zabuza said as the man smiled maliciously behind his bandages. Naruto jumped up as he channeled lightning chakra through his hand. The boy came crashing down as he threw a devastating punch towards Zabuza. Zabuza jumped backwards, dodging. Naruto's fist hit the ground, sending tremors through the ground. Zabuza went through hand signs mid-air as he sensed somebody behind him. Katan, Eureka no Jutsu. Sasuke yelled as he blew intense heat towards the Nin. Zabuza flipped in the air looking upside down. Suetun, Sueho no Jutsu. Zabuza said as he spit massive amounts of water towards the fire. Zabuza landed as he got out his sword instantly. Naruto flashed in a blur beside Zabuza as his foot cleaved through the air. Boom. A boom was heard as Naruto's foot hit the sword. Zabuza blocked it, but got sent flying by the force. Zabuza slid on the ground as he blocked a punch from Sasuke. The Uchiha flipped up and brought his leg down. Zabuza caught the kick as he slammed Sasuke on the ground. Flash. Naruto flashed to Zabuza's side, punching him in the face. Naruto followed up with kicking Zabuza in the knee. The man let out a cry of pain as he felt something started to break. Naruto kicked the back of Zabuza's knee, making him fall to the ground. Before Naruto put all his chakra into his feet and kicked the man in the face with absolute tremendous force. Zabuza went flying once again. A scream sounded out through the forest as Naruto and Sasuke snapped their heads to where Ino and Tazuna are. Naruto looked at Sasuke before Uchiha nodded, dashing off towards them. Naruto sighed. Is it too soon for the two tails? Naruto asked. He honestly wanted to get this over with quickly. The QB shook his head. If you wish to get it over with, I suggest you use it, the QB stated. Naruto nodded as he flashed off. With Kakashi. Kushimaru's left foot planted in the ground as he kicked Kakashi in the chest. The Jonin coughed from the force before he quickly regained his composure. The Jonin blocked a punch. He sent one of his own, hitting Kushimaru in the face. Kushimaru tried to leap back to create some distance, but Kakashi grabbed his arm. Kakashi struck the man twice in the chest. With his free hand, Kakashi went through hand signs. Katan, Kakashi let out a grunt as Kushimaru stabbed him in the shoulder with his Nuabara. Kakashi let go and leaped back. He had forgot all about the weapon. Kushimaru rushed up as he weaved his Nuabara horizontally to Kakashi. The Jonin leaned back slightly as he lifted up his leg with Kushimaru now in front of him. The Jonin sent a kick at Kushimaru. Kushimaru dodged as he stabbed at Kakashi again. Kakashi ducked as he tried to sweep Kushimaru's legs. The man jumped up as he sent a kick to Kakashi's skull. Kakashi suddenly flashed away, surprising Kushimaru. I would not have taken you as the fleeing type Kakashi of the Sharingan, Kushimaru stated. He got no response, however, as he sighed. The ground started rumbling. Kushimaru jumped away, not knowing what was about to happen, as a massive earth dragon roared out of the ground. Kushimaru leaped away as the earth dragon tried to hit him full force. Kushimaru ran through the trees, moving away before his eyes widened. Kakashi appeared in front of him, Sharingan flaring. Kushimaru closed his eyes and put his guard up. Those eyes were known for putting people in a genjutsu with just a glance. Kakashi dashed forward before jumping up and twisting as he kicked Kushimaru with full force. Kushimaru grunted from the pain as he got sent flying. He then heard a roar. Kushimaru's eyes snapped open. Damn it, the Earth Dragon. Kushimaru thought. He had forgot about the thing. Kushimaru only saw a glimpse of the sky before the dragon swallowed him whole. Kakashi landed on the ground, breathing heavily before he gave a single hand sign. Explosions went off inside the Earth Dragon. It didn't seem like any explosion, however, as the explosions boomed massively. Steam came out of the Earth Dragon's mouth as it crashed into the ground to add more injury to Kushimaru. The Earth Dragon disappeared into rubble as Kakashi could hear faint chuckling. Kakashi narrowed his eyes as the chuckling grew to malicious laughter. Kakashi took out a kunai as he got ready for anything. With Sasuke. Sasuke rushed towards the sounds of the screams. They sounded like Ino. Sasuke picked up the pace as he could now see figures in the thick fog. God, this fog is annoying, Sasuke thought in annoyance. Sasuke squinted as he saw somebody holding Ino's arm. Ino sent a punch to the person who simply leaned to the side. I would rather end this swiftly, the person said as they flicked their wrist. A kunai came into the person's hand as they drove it towards Ino's skull. Clash. Sasuke appeared in the air with a kunai as he blocked the kunai the person had. The person leaped back, creating distance. Ino breathed heavily. I'm sorry, Ino apologized. The blonde kept being a burden. Sasuke shook his head. You did excellent, Ino. Just leave it to me, Sasuke said. Ino nodded as the Uchiha sat her beside Tazuna. We'll get this over with so you can finish, Sasuke assured the old man. Tazuna simply nodded. He had complete faith in the team's abilities. Sasuke turned to his right as his Sharingan flared. The Nin came with a punch to the right. Sasuke ducked and brought his head back up as he struck the Nin in the chest. The Nin seemed to not mind as they spun around and hit Sasuke with their elbow. Sasuke felt the sharp pain in his chest as leaped away. Sasuke heard something whizzing in the air before he felt something pierce his shoulder. Sasuke let out a grunt as something pierced his leg, then his hand. Sasuke looked to his hand as he saw a sunbon pierced it deeply. Sasuke cursed. These are going to prove to be bothersome. Regularly. I could see them, but not clearly, and the fog masks it completely. There's no way I could know what side it would be coming from, Sasuke thought. Sasuke ducked a kick coming at his head as he swiftly tried to knock the Nin off of balance. The Nin grabbed Sasuke's head as they used it for balance to flip off. Sasuke jumped up as he landed in the tree. He swiftly spun around as he put up his arm in an X motion. The hunter Nin had a kunai as they slashed Sasuke's arms. The boy let out a scream as he felt his skin rip. The hunter Nin jumped up and kicked Sasuke's head into the tree. The tree cracked a bit from the force. Sasuke would be lying if he say he wasn't dizzy as the hunter Nin followed up with another kick from above, sending Sasuke crashing down to the ground. Damn it, I hate this fog, Sasuke yelled as he hit the ground. The Nin finished with hitting Sasuke with a couple of Senbon needles before masking their presence. The Senbon hit Sasuke in his leg as Sasuke cursed. He pulled it out as blood dropped from it. Sasuke sensed a presence from behind him as he leaned to the left just in time to dodge a stab with a Senbon from the Nin. The Uchiha lifted up as he tried to strike the Nin in the face with his palm. The Nin dodged it and grabbed Sasuke's arm before flicking their wrist, making a Senbon come into their hand. The hunter Nin stabbed at Sasuke's neck before it connected. A poof was heard as a log was in the Alice Sasuke should have been. The person twisted around to see Sasuke right in front of them. Katan, Kiryu, and Sasuke said as he breathed in. Intense flames blew out of his mouth towards the Nin as Sasuke started to sweat just from the heat. Sasuke landed on the ground as he waited for the fire and smoke to die down. Sasuke raised an eyebrow. Seemed they had gotten away in time. But there was no way the Nin had escaped without injury. The Uchiha was correct as the hunter sat behind a tree away from Sasuke. The Nin had burn marks over their face, and their mask had turned to ash, revealing the feminine face. Damn it, Haku, pull yourself together. Zabuza-sama would not be pleased if I ended up losing, Haku thought. She tried to get up, but found it stung badly. The complete left half of her body was burned severely. She had not expected the boy to be that good. But also it was her fault for underestimating Sasuke. She should have taken it seriously when the Sharingan appeared. There were only 3 Uchiha left, for including Itachi. One the Hokage's son, and the other a survivor of the Mass Arse. and both were said to be prodigies wielding great power. Yeah, that was dumb thinking on her part, she had to admit. But she had to heal at least a little before going back out. The pain was unbearable. With Naruto. Naruto stood on the water, blood dripping from his right arm. You should have died from the first time I pierced you with my blade. But it seemed Kami was on your side, Zabuza said firmly. Naruto smirked arrogantly. It was rather fun getting payback and launching you through the trees, Naruto said arrogantly. Zabuza grew a tick mark on his head. The only reason that happened was because I was caught off guard, Zabuza said annoyed. This is the first time someone has ever given me a challenge. I hope you continue, Zabuza said as he rushed towards the boy. Naruto's Sharingan flared as the lightning chakra enveloped his body. Naruto flashed as he brought his arm back and hit Zabuza in the stomach with devastating power. Zabwa coughed up all the spit in his mouth as all the air in his lungs came out. Naruto did a single hand sign as a clone appeared. The clone tried to kick Zabuza in the head. Zabuza leaned back before grabbing the clone. Wind chakra formed in his hand as it started flaring wildly, cutting the clone and making it poof. The original Naruto appeared on the right as he kicked at Zabuza's chest. Zabuza leaned to the right and swung his sword down, trying to cut Naruto's head off. The blonde flashed again, now behind Zabuza, as he kicked Zabuza in the back of the legs. The swordsman lost his balance as he went to his knees. Naruto spun in the air as he delivered a devastating kick to Zabuza in the head, sending him flying. Gah! Zabuza skipped on the water before flipping. I hate that jutsu, Zabuza thought as he flipped in the air and landed. Zabuza saw Naruto flashing about, coming towards him at amazing godlike speeds. Zabuza went through hand signs, Sueton, Sabakatsume. Zabuza yelled, slamming his right hand into the water. Naruto's eyes widened as a massive water claw came rushing out of the water. It grabbed a hold of Naruto and slammed him under the water. Zabuza smirked, going through yet another set of hand signs, Sueton, Shindo, Futen. Zabuza yelled as massive amounts of chakra went into his hands. Zabuza slammed it into the water and released all of it. Naruto yelled in the water as bubbles went up. The water around him compressed. The pain went throughout his body. Naruto felt his body crushing. Zabuza stopped the technique, going through more hand signs, absolutely melting his chakra. Sueton, Sukodan no Jutsu. Zabuza yelled out. Naruto saw the water around him swirling before sharks made of water started to form. Damn it, he isn't stopping. Naruto yelled frantically about the situation. If he used his lightning jutsu, he would get paralyzed long enough for the water sharks to eat him. I'm gonna need some of that chakra, buddy, Naruto said. Zabuza stood on the water as bubbles came up. Steam rised from the water as Zabuza's eyes widened. It's that same chakra from before, Zabuza said as he had flashbacks of how Naruto decimated him with the orange chakra and three tails swaying behind him. Naruto burst from the water as he was already upon Zabuza. Zabuza narrowly ducked a kick and hopped over another. The swordsman brought Yuo his sword as Naruto punched it, cracking it. Zabuza flipped away, gaining some distance. The man narrowed his eyes. You seem calmer than the first time, Zabuza said. He could remember Naruto murmuring to himself something like kill. Naruto smirked. I wasn't ready for the power the first time, but this time it's a completely different story, Naruto stated. Zabuza nodded. You're more than a worthy opponent. You shall die a warrior, Zabuza said in a firm and confident tone, almost like someone from the army. Naruto shook his head, disagreeing. I can't die this young. However, I'll give you a proper burial next to the tall guy, Naruto said. Zabuza chuckled. If I actually do die, I wouldn't want to be next to that bastard, Zabuza said. He got annoyed thinking about it. Naruto tilted his head to the side in a confused manner. I thought you two were like a, thing, Naruto said truthfully. They argued like a couple. Zabuza looked at Naruto with an angry expression. You're really pushing it, Jinin, Zabuza said angrily. Naruto held back a laugh. Shall we? Naruto asked, getting in his stance. Zabuza nodded. He turned to his left and saw Naruto as the blonde had took off at unbelievable speeds. Zabuza punched at his head. Naruto spun to the left, dodging, hitting him in the chest. Zabuza held back a grunt as he jumped up and came crashing down, trying to cut Naruto's body in half. Naruto disappeared behind the man as he sent a kick to his head. Zabuza chuckled as he melted into water. Naruto's eyes widened as he felt a presence behind him. Suetun, Suijoki no Jutsu. Zabuza bellowed as he blew intense steam at Naruto. Naruto yelled out in pain as the fire like steam burned his face. Zabuza smirked as he twisted and cut Naruto's leg. Naruto yelled out once more. Zabuza followed up with crouching to the ground and kicking Naruto in the chin, sending him flying away. Naruto flipped in the air as tears leaked from his eyes. The jutsu burned like hell. I'll get you back for that. Naruto yelled as he flashed away. He appeared in front of Zabuza in blinding speed. He was below Zabuza. Zabuza looked down as he saw the three-tomo Sharingan stare deep into his eyes. Zabuza grabbed Naruto's head and kneed him in the face, then swung his sword up. There was a sickening cracking sound of the sword going through Naruto's body. Naruto dropped to the ground, his body cut in half. Then Zabuza's eyes widened. Jinjutsu. Zabuza exclaimed frantically. Curse that Sharingan. Kai. Zabuza opened his eyes to see him being held up by Naruto as Naruto went through hand signs. Futon. Rapusho. Naruto yelled. He thrusted his palm forward as a massive amount of wind came forth and struck Zabuza's body. Naruto didn't stop. He continued the jutsu, as Zabuza felt his body jerk every time it hit. His skin was getting sliced open from the violent wind, and the Kyuubi's chakra helped him out more. Naruto stopped as he threw Zabuza far away. He went through hand signs. His aim had to be impeccable if he wanted to end this. Naruto squinted as he went through hand signs, seeing Zabuza falling. Naruto channeled the Kyuubi's chakra into his hand. He was going to release the deadliest jutsu in his arsenal taught to him by his dad and multiply it by 1,000 with the Kyuubi's chakra. Naruto held out his hand. Raiten. Reiku Kauzen no Jutsu. Naruto yelled demonically. Naruto's hand glowed as he held it out perfectly. A absolutely massive beam came out of Naruto's hand as it was as wide as a ship and as tall as a house as it sped towards Zabuza. Zabuza yelled out as the lightning beam enveloped his whole body. He went crashing to the ground, blood leaking from his mouth as he had holes throughout his body. Zabuza coughed up blood. Damn, it seems the kid is something more powerful than I expected, Zabuza said, coughing. Naruto walked up to where Zabuza was as he looked bad too. But not as bad, just exhausted with a few deep cuts around his body. Zabuza chuckled. Naruto raised an eyebrow. What's funny? Naruto asked. Zabuza chuckled more before sighing. I've been traveling lands, far and wide, battling opponents, winning and killing famed shinobi. Just to get killed by a kid, Zabuza said. It was funny almost. Naruto frowned. I'm sorry it had to end this way, Naruto said. Zabuza shook his head. No, don't be. I died a warrior, Zabuza said. He coughed up blood. I'm beginning to find it hard to breathe, Zabuza said, wheezing. Naruto looked down at the man sadly. Tell me, what is your goal in life? Zabuza asked. Naruto smiled. He could at least tell him. The man was going to die after all. I want to be the strongest shinobi to ever live, Naruto said confidently with happiness in his tone. Zabuza chuckled. That's a very hard goal, cough. But I believe you can do it, Zabuza said. I want to give you something, Zabuza said. Naruto raised an eyebrow curiously. The Kubi Kiribocho, take it with you. Cough. I believe you will reach your goal. Take my weapon as a gift, a sign that you are a true warrior, Zabuza said. Naruto's eyes softened. He picked up the sword, which was rather heavy. Heh, just promise me you'll put it to good use, Zabuza said. Naruto nodded as tears flowed down his eyes. I promise, Naruto said. Zabuza grew quiet as Naruto heard the man stop breathing and saw the light from his eyes give out. Naruto felt something in his heart. The boy closed the swordsman's eyes. You died a warrior, Naruto said, smiling. With Kakashi. Kushimaru burst from the rocks, blood on the right side of his body. You're proving to be quite annoying, Kakashi, Kushimaru said angrily. Kakashi didn't say a word. The Jonin was too focused. Kushimaru sighed, glancing at his surroundings as rain was dropping all around them. Kushimaru smirked. It seems Kami is on my side, Kushimaru said as he then went through speedy hand signs. Kakashi readied himself. Suetun, Suishoha, Kushimaru yelled. The rain started forming into a mini tidal wave before splashing onto the ground with the water being 8 inches high, giving Kushimaru an advantage because of him being a Kiri-nin. Kakashi realized the water wasn't going away. Kushimaru threw 5 kunai and did a jutsu to multiply it with water kunai. Kakashi deflected and dodged kunai with 2 getting past and cutting him deeply within his arm and leg. Kakashi groaned in pain. He looked towards Kushimaru, who eyed him closely. "I'm low on chakra, and I won't be able to go on much further," Kakashi thought. He was putting too much strain on his body. His boy was trying to give out, but he wouldn't let it. Kakashi rushed at Kushimaru. He jumped up and noticed the man wasn't moving. He heard something buzzing as a large explosion went off. Kakashi got blew back from the force and blood burst from his mouth going everywhere. Kakashi crashed into the tree coughing. He couldn't move. The bastard had replaced himself with an explosion clone while Kakashi was distracted with deflecting and dodging the kunai. The Jonin breathed heavily as he heard a thud. Kushimaru hopped from the trees next to Kakashi. "I've got to say, Kakashi, you have been a worthy opponent," Kushimaru said. The man grabbed his Nuabara. "So I'll be nice and give you a quick death," Kushimaru stated firmly. Kakashi's eyes widened. His life flashed before his eyes. Obito, Rin, Minato. His last thought was his students. It was all coming to an end. Obito suddenly appeared in his thoughts. "You would rather let yourself get killed? What about Minato?" "If I knew you would be this weak, I would have stayed alive to protect you," Obito said. Kakashi's eyes widened. "That's not much of a pep talk," Kakashi said, looking at Minato. "Not much of a pep talk? I got one for you. Get the hell up," Obito yelled. Kakashi then got a burst of energy as he flashed out of the way. Kushimaru's Nuabara hit the tree as he turned to see Kakashi on a tree. Birds chirped as lightning chakra enveloped Kakashi's hand. Kakashi channeled chakra into his feet and pounced off the tree like a tiger. Kushimaru's eyes widened as Kakashi flew towards him at amazing speeds. There was the sound of flesh ripping as blood gushed from his mouth. Kakashi stood there with his hand piercing through Kushimaru's heart. He had a smile on his face. "At least, I die." "Hey, warrior," Kushimaru said as the life from his eyes went away and he fell to the ground. Rain poured onto the ground as Kakashi dropped to his knees. The Jonin breathed heavily. "I won," Kakashi said. His eyes started to blur as the Jonin fell to the ground and passed out from the exhaustion. With Sasuke. Sasuke looked around. His body was full of Senbon needles, and he was in this barrier of ice. Haku stood in all of the ice mirrors. "I am sorry for doing this, Uchiha," Haku said. The ice mirror disappeared as Haku stood in front of Sasuke. Sasuke looked up at her. Blood all around his body. Sasuke breathed heavily. The boy wasn't that arrogant, but was still a prideful Uchiha. To get defeated like this was unacceptable. Sasuke groaned as he then heard footsteps. Ino came crashing down with her foot as she kicked it down towards Haku's head. Haku swiftly dodged rather easily before spinning around. Haku looked at her with an annoyed expression. She had to get to Zabuza-sama, and they were holding her up. "Ino, don't try it, you can't win," Sasuke said. Ino looked at Haku with confidence. "It's sad that you think so lowly of me, Sasuke," Ino said. Fire burned in Ino's eyes. She knew she was weak, but that didn't mean she couldn't try. She examined Haku. She already looked tired and cuts were all over her body. Sasuke had did a number on the girl. Haku rushed at Ino. She wanted to get it over with quickly. Ino dodged and rolled into the forest, getting away from Haku. Haku clicked her tongue in annoyance. She ran to where Ino was. Her eyes glanced to the right and saw an explosion tag. A large boom went off, sending Haku flying. She crashed onto the ground. 2 kunai sped towards Haku while she was on the ground, impaling her leg and arm. Haku grunted. Getting up, she saw Ino run across the path and into the other side of the forest. Haku flipped up, glaring at Sasuke. She didn't have as much energy because of that boy, and now this girl was trying to play smart. Haku went through hand signs at the area. She could sense ink behind the tree. "Suetun, Sueho no Jutsu," Haku yelled. She spit out a giant ball of scorching hot water at the tree. The tree flew out of the ground, showing Ino. Haku spit 3 more at Ino. Dodged to the right, then to the left, before flipping out of the way. Her eyes widened when she saw Haku upon her. Haku grabbed onto Ino's face with the grip of iron before slamming her into the ground. Haku leaped up flipping as she threw Simban. It hit Ino in the arm, causing her to grunt in pain. Haku landed on the ground when she sensed something to her left. However, it was too late as a earth clone of Ino bursted out of the trees and cocked back her fist. A sickening crack was heard as the cone punched her in the head with as much force it could put out. Haku fell to the ground as the original Ino stood up. She threw a kunai at Haku. Haku didn't move, however. Ino's eyes widened in horror as the kunai plunged deep into Haku's skull as you could hear it pierce the brain. Ino rushed over to the fellow kunoichi. Hey, Ino said as she shook the girl. Ino took out the kunai from her head. She saw the light go out from her eyes. The light flickered before it went out. Ino stared down as she felt sick to her stomach. Did she just kill her? Sasuke looked at Ino surprised. She had defeated Haku. Ino heard footsteps behind her. Naruto stood there holding Kakashi as it looked like he was struggling. He sat Kakashi down by a tree. You guys' fight looks like it went well, Naruto said with a smile. Ino nodded slowly. Her eyes had a second of sadness before going back to normal, which Sasuke noticed. The team heard a bunch of footsteps like an army. Naruto sighed as he got up. He was tired, but he could go for another round. An army of bandits stood a few feet away. In the front stood a very short man. He looked at the group. It seems you defeated those 3-inch Gato, said looking at Haku. Naruto narrowed his eyes. Originally, I was going to come and kill Zabuza and Kushimaru after the fight, Gato said pacing around. When they were weak after their battles, I would strike. But it seems that'll happen to you 4 instead, Gato stated before he smiled maliciously. How unfortunate. Gato said he snapped his fingers, and the army ran towards them with swords, kunai, any weapon you can name. Naruto's lightning jutsu sprung to life, and Ino stood up. Naruto flashed away, and Ino ran towards them. Another pair of army footsteps came from behind. The villagers of the Wave Village charged through holding weapons. Give them everything we've got, Tazuna said, standing at the front. There was a large roar as everybody rushed to the other army. Ino ducked under a slash and kicked a bandit away. She dropped to the ground, narrowly dodging a slash from a kunai to the head. Ino swept the man's foot, and he fell to the ground. Naruto flashed around everywhere with his new Kubi Kiribocho. He slashed through enemies with ease as Gato saw his forces getting ran through. The man stepped back as the other army overpowered his with the help of the 2 ninja. Gato turned around to see Naruto. It was a clone, however. The boy picked up Gato. You've been quite the nuisance, Naruto said, smiling. Gato grew scared. The smile on the boy was off. It was too happy for his liking. 10 minutes later. Gato sat tied up to a tree. Please don't hurt me, Gato pleaded. Tsunami stepped up looking at the man with a knife in her hand. Gato let OU a terrified scream. Please. What do you want, money? I have plenty, Gato yelled. Naruto stepped up grabbing Tsunami's shoulder. Think about this, Tsunami. You could rebuild the village with all the money he has, and then some, Naruto told her. Tsunami seemed to be thinking before she smiled. A week later. Gato stood undressed in a cell. He had given the village all the money he had so he could be free. But they still imprisoned him after giving them his whole ship full of money. The village had also named the bridge the Great Naruto Village. The team said their goodbyes and walked away. That was some first mission, Naruto said. He was wrapped in a bit of bandages around his arm and both his legs. Everyone seemed to be hurt except Ino. Ino smiled widely. She had actually helped the team out and wasn't a burden. Kakashi looked at the kunoichi proudly. I'll be telling everyone about how I beat those bandits, Ino said. Her eyes showed a bit of sadness before they went back to normal, which Kakashi noticed this time. We're finally going home, Naruto said happily. Chapter 13. Reunited. Week later. Naruto sat in his hospital room with a sigh. The whole Team 7 had to be in the hospital because of their injuries from the recent Land of Waves mission. The worst of the bunch being Kakashi, followed behind by Sasuke. The injuries the two had were something else entirely. When his mother Makoto saw the injuries they all had, she was furious. Naruto chuckled at the memory. Footsteps sounded off in the hallway as Naruto looked up to see Ino passing his room. He had a look of confusion when she had a sad expression on her face with her hands together. Naruto stood up as he walked out and saw her go into her room, which was 2 doors down. Should I go and ask her what's wrong? Or do I leave it alone? I'm not really good with girls' emotions, QB, Naruto stated. The QB chuckled. Unfortunately, I get to see that every day. But based off of what I've seen from my other host, you should go talk to her, the QB stated. Naruto nodded, but what should I say? Naruto asked. He didn't want to embarrass himself. Sorry, kid, I can't tell you that. You have to talk to her yourself. It would be troublesome to tell you lines while I'm sleepy, the QB stated with a loud yawn. Naruto clicked his tongue. Lazy bastard, Naruto said angrily. The QB ignored it as Naruto slowly heard snoring. And then the furball goes right to sleep. Great, Naruto said. He stepped in front of Ino's door before taking a deep breath. Knock, knock. Come in, Ino said. Naruto opened the door before stepping in. Hey, Ino, Naruto greeted, walking towards her. Ino smiled, looking at Naruto. Naruto found the smile a little bit off. He couldn't explain it. The Uchiha sat down beside her on her bed. I saw you in the hallway, he paused. You looked kind of sad. Is everything okay? Naruto asked, concerned. Ino smiled. That's sweet that you worry about me, Naruto-kun, but I'm fine, she said, her smile widening a bit. Naruto frowned. Ino, you know you can tell me anything. If there's ever something bothering you, don't hesitate to tell me, Naruto said, looking her in her eyes. Ino's frown dropped. Seems I can't dodge it forever, Ino said with a sigh. Do you remember the hunter Nin that I fought? Ino asked, looking at the boy. Naruto nodded. When I was fighting her, I had threw the kunai at her. But she didn't move, and she stopped at those words with a sad expression. She died from your kunai? Naruto asked. Ino nodded, slowly looking down. Naruto grabbed her chin, lifting her face up to his. She blushed. I'm sorry you had to go through that, Ino. If you want, I can stay here with you for the day, Naruto offered. Ino smiled. It seemed genuine. You're so caring, Naruto. That's one of the reasons Eve fallen in love with you, Ino said, looking at him. Naruto looked confused. She chuckled. You've always been like that, though. He'll think you'll understand this, Ino said before she leaned into Naruto's face. Naruto's eyes widened as the blonde kissed him on the lips. To her surprise, he returned it. And for the rest of the day, they sat in comfortable silence as Naruto comforted her. 3 months later. Months have passed since the mission from the Land of Waves. Naruto and his team were the best Genin team currently, having the most missions done within a month. And the team was already gaining recognition despite just becoming Genin not even a year ago. They had went on multiple dangerous missions, but their most recent was the one to the Land of Snow. The team had to take Princess Koyuki to the Land of Snow to film a movie. Along the way, they found out she was a genuine princess, and they battled against her uncle so she could become the new ruler. Now for the team. Team 7 was nearly famous. Naruto, being the Hokage's son, had high hopes for his ninja career, and adding to the fact he was an Uchiha and a prodigy. People around the whole 5 great nations spoke of his name. The boy had let his jet black hair grow out and was now almost as tall as Kakashi. He was growing splendidly. As for Sasuke, the boy was praised. Being one of the only survivors of the Uchiha clan and also being a prodigy, the boy also had high hopes. And he grew tall, being Abu 5 inches shorter than Naruto. And as for the most impressive member of the team, Ino Yamanaka, the girl seemed to have a whole new personality. She took training seriously and never worried about makeup. She used her natural beauty. She didn't have the high ponytail anymore. The blonde let it flow down as it stretched down to her lower back. She wore a sports bra, shorts almost like a basketball player, and sneakers. She also had a very ripped body. She now had muscles. Not applicable. If I were to say who she looked like, it would be the girl from Fire Force. I think her name was Maki, but with blonde hair, not in a high ponytail. In Team 7's training ground, multiple clashes of kunai, booms of explosions, and thuds of taijutsu sounded out. With Ino, the blonde kunoichi ducked under a punch from Kakashi before she dropped to the ground. She put her hands on the ground for balance before she kicked Kakashi in the chest with tremendous force, sending him skidding back. Umph! Kakashi grunted in pain. Most of the power went into his Jonin flak jacket, but it still hurted like hell. Ino pushed off the ground with her hands, sending her into the sky. She flipped, throwing multiple kunai at Kakashi. The Jonin hurriedly got kunai out of his pouch before he threw them at the oncoming kunai. Ino landed on the ground as Kakashi went through hand signs. Katan, Eureka no Jutsu, Kakashi yelled. Ino went through hand signs as well. Doton, Iwayne Wuru, Ino muttered. She slammed her two hands on the ground before a wall made of earth protected her. The fireballs hit the wall. Ino breathed in and out as she focused on her jutsu. She added more chakra so it does not get overpowered. The jutsu finally ended as Ino stood up sweating. She flopped to the ground, breathing out a deep sigh of relief. Kakashi made his way over with a smile. Your improvement is great, Ino. I believe you can become a Chunin easily through the exams, Kakashi stated. Ino smiled widely as she got up. All thanks to you, Kakashi-sensei, Ino said proudly. They had been training all day for the upcoming Chunin exams. It was 3 weeks away and was being held in Awagakure. Being held at Awagakure, it was a problem for all Konoha shinobi, especially Naruto, seeing as he was the son of Yondaime Hokage, the one that destroyed their forces in the war. Minato nor Naruto was really loved. But even though that Tsuchikage had said they were welcome to join, but also said that he would not be held accountable if his people did anything reckless, which Minato agreed to, but said that there would be no problem then if his shinobi protected themselves if his people did try something, which the Tsuchikage agreed to. The blonde Namikaze wasn't afraid to go to war, unlike the Sandaime Hokage who avoided it. He would not hesitate to marching up there with all his forces should something happen to Naruto. But he had also instructed Kakashi to train them until the last week where they would rest. With Naruto, the boy leaned back from a punch from Sasuke as he sent one of his on. It connected as Sasuke grunted. Naruto stepped back as he brought his right leg up to the left and swung it down towards the Uchiha's head. Sasuke leaned back dodging it, but to his surprise the kick landed on the ground and Naruto spun around like he had anticipated him dodging. He spun before jumping up while spinning sideways. The Uchiha then delivered a destructive kick to Sasuke's head, sending him flying into a tree. Naruto was surprised when a log hit the tree instead of Sasuke. He spun around, but it was too late as Sasuke delivered a haymaker to his face, sending him staggering back, before he jumped up and kicked Naruto in the face, while simultaneously using Naruto's face to push him in the air as he sent multiple kunai at him. Naruto got out his Kubikiri Bocho as he swung it with one hand. It cut through the kunai as if they were paper before he rushed to Sasuke. A bell rung on both their hips as Naruto stopped in his tracks. You're lucky, Sasuke, Naruto yelled over to the Uchiha with a playful smirk. Sasuke laughed from behind Naruto. Naruto spun around. You are the lucky one. If you had come close to the clone, a massive explosion would have went off, Sasuke said. Naruto frowned in response. It was hard getting used to not using his lightning jutsu in all his battles. Yes, Naruto had to hone his strength, speed, and other things without the use of his lightning jutsu. Kakashi had told him that if he did that his lightning jutsu would be even stronger, and it was the fact of his cards. The Jonin had said a shinobi always keeps a trump card if something proves to be troublesome. And in regards to trump cards, Naruto had many. He had the Sharingan, Kubikiri Bocho, and his lightning jutsu. He only brought out his Sharingan when things were looking bad for him. He usually had his Kubikiri Bocho sealed, unless he was going against a very strong opponent. And for his lightning jutsu, it was used as a last resort in conjunction with his Sharingan, which proved to be overpowering. My sensing abilities suck and you used that to your advantage, Naruto stated. Sasuke just nodded in response. Naruto sealed his Kubikiri Bocho as Kakashi and Ino made their way over. You all have been making great progress, but it's the end of practice. You all should go home. After saying those words, the Jonin disappeared in a swirl of leaves. Naruto also disappeared in a flash of red lightning. Sasuke clicked his tongue, walking away from the training ground. The Uchiha had to walk home since he didn't know the move both Naruto and Kakashi were using. Himogakure. The Raikage sat behind his desk with a firm look. Mabui stood in front of him holding files. She got one out before handing it to him. This is the strongest team in Kumo, Raikage-sama. It also includes Yujito-sama, Mabui stated. The Raikage nodded with a slight smile. That should be expecting from a kunoichi like Yujito. The Raikage yelled with a laugh. Send her and her team to the Chunin exams in IWA. She is a Jinin still, right? Raikage asked. Mabui nodded, confirming. The Raikage grew a wide grin. Inform them. They will be representing Kumo, the Raikage stated. Yes, Raikage-sama, Mabui said, bowing before she stepped out of the room. The Raikage developed a firm look. Where the hell is B? The Raikage asked. An umbu appeared in front of him. He should be arriving in less than an hour, sir, the umbu stated. The Raikage nodded. I'd like if he accompanied me to the Chunin exams finals, they said. The umbu simply nodded before disappearing. 2 weeks later, Naruto sat on his couch yawning. You should be getting dressed, Naruto. You're about to leave in a few hours, Mikoto said as she swept the kitchen. Naruto nodded with a smile. I couldn't sleep all night. I was so excited, Naruto said excitedly. There's supposed to be other strong genin at the Chunin exams, right, Mom? Naruto asked. Mikoto nodded. I remember when I went through the Chunin exams, I got defeated by this other kid, Mikoto said looking back. You got defeat? Naruto yelled in disbelief. Mikoto chuckled. I'm strong, Naruto, but not that strong. There's plenty of people who I probably wouldn't land a hit on in the shinobi world, Mikoto stated. Naruto nodded. I hope I get as strong as that. Go against an army by myself and win without a scratch, Naruto said, smiling widely. Mikoto chuckled. All it takes is hard work. I'm sure you'll be Hokage level in your prime, Mikoto said proudly. Mikoto glanced at the time. You better get going, your team should be waiting for you by now, Mikoto told him. Naruto nodded with a smile. I couldn't sleep all night. I was so excited, Naruto said excitedly. There's supposed to be other strong genin at the Chunin exams, right, Mom? Naruto asked. Mikoto nodded. I remember when I went through the Chunin exams, I got defeated by this other kid, Mikoto said looking back. You got defeat? Naruto yelled in disbelief. Mikoto chuckled. I'm strong, Naruto, but not that strong. There's plenty of people who I probably wouldn't land a hit on in the shinobi world, Mikoto stated. Naruto nodded. I hope I get as strong as that. Go against an army by myself and win without a scratch, Naruto said, smiling widely. Mikoto chuckled. All it takes is hard work. I'm sure you'll be Hokage level in your prime, Mikoto said proudly. Mikoto glanced at the time. You better get going, your team should be waiting for you by now, Mikoto told him. Naruto smiled widely. You'll be there to watch me win at the finals, right, Mom? Naruto asked hopefully. Mikoto smiled warmly. I wouldn't miss it for the world, Mikoto assured her son. Naruto smiled before he opened the door and left. Training Ground 7. Naruto ran full speed from down the street, dust behind him, as he had a huge smile on his face. Naruto bent down slightly before leaping into the air as he flipped. Sasuke leaned against a tree as he sensed something falling down from the sky. A large boom was heard as dust covered the training ground. Sasuke waved his hand over his face, coughing from the dust. Naruto, what the hell are you doing? Sasuke yelled as through the dust. The dust settled as Naruto stood in view with a smile. Practicing for my entrance to the finals. It's going to be epic, Sasuke, Naruto said with a grin. Sasuke simply shook his head. I want to make everyone stare in awe at seeing me, Naruto said happily. Seeing as we're going to IWA for our Chunin exams. The place Konoha destroyed in a war, you'll most likely be met with boos instead of cheers, Ino stated from behind. Naruto smiled looking at Ino. Especially since you're the fourth Hokage's son. They don't really. Let's say enjoy him breathing, Kakashi stated. Naruto waved his hand. With a little effort, anyone could love me, Naruto said proudly. Kakashi chuckled at the boy. We should head to the gate. I'm sure Kurenai and Asuma's team should be waiting for us, Kakashi stated, never taking his eyes off of his book. Ino raised an eyebrow. Kurenai and Asuma? Who are they? Ino asked curiously. Kakashi looked up slightly. I'm surprised you don't know of them. They're the Jonin senseis of Team 8 and 9-inch, Kakashi stated. Naruto got a glint in his eyes. Aren't those the teams our friends are on? Naruto asked, barely containing his excitement. Kakashi slightly nodded, readying himself for the explosion of Naruto's happines. A loud yell of happiness sounded out as Kakashi stood there blinking, his ears hurting. It seems I still wasn't ready, Kakashi said slightly. I haven't seen those guys since the academy graduation, Ino stated. Kakashi looked at Sasuke. Ino and Naruto seemed to be happy about meeting their academy friends. The Jonin grew curious as he saw a depressed look on Sasuke's face, one filled with horror and fear. I wonder what that's about, Kakashi thought unknowingly. 10 minutes later at the gate. Kakashi's sweat dropped, so that's why, Kakashi said looking at the ground. Not even 10 seconds of them being at the gate, Sasuke got tackled by a pink-haired girl. Sasuke-kun, it's been so long, Sakura said as she rubbed against the Uchiha on the ground. Sakura. Please, get off, Sasuke groaned as he struggled to breath with the pink-haired girl on his stomach. Sakura giggled. I missed you so much, Sasuke-kun, Sakura said, seemingly ignoring the Uchiha's pleading. Naruto hugged 3 boys at the same time before letting go. Kiba smiled. Wow, Naruto, you grew a bit. Last time we saw each other at the academy, I was the tallest of the group, Kiba said, grinning. Naruto chuckled. My mom's been putting me and Sasuke on this diet for the past 2 months, and it's helping our growth greatly, Naruto informed them. Choji munched on a candy bar. We've been learning a few tricks since the academy. Munch munch. You better watch out, Naruto, Choji stated. Well, we've been training to Choji, especially me, Ino said as she placed her elbow on Naruto's shoulder, leaning on it. Kiba's mouth dropped. What the hell? Ino, it's like you've did a complete 180. Kiba yelled in disbelief. Ino smiled proudly. I have been training hard, Ino smiled. Yeah, back in the academy, you were a short blonde girl who wore makeup. Ino looked ticked off, who always thought she was pretty and smart. Ahem, Ino said, annoyed. And an overall brat who dash. Ino roared her fist back before sending at Kiba, sending him flying into the gate. Shikamaru cracked a smile. Naruto looked around. Before he smiled, Hinata. Naruto yelled, running over to the girl. Hinata let out a slight yelp. When Naruto and his group arrived, the Hyuga wanted nothing more than to go up to Naruto and talk to him, but found it hard to do. Naruto enveloped the Hyuga in a tight hug as she blushed heavily. I missed you, Hinata, Naruto said before letting her go. Hinata's blush deepened hearing Naruto had missed her. Hello, Naruto-kun, Hinata said, looking down. The Hyuga hasn't seemed to have changed at all. Disappointing, really, the Kyuubi said. Naruto sighed. And you would've? Naruto asked. The Kyuubi nodded. I actually wonder how I would look if I were human, the Kyuubi said curiously. Naruto shrugged. Probably long hair like Jiraiya's, but red and a bit muscly with a cool scar running down your face, Naruto stated. The fox chuckled. You think so highly of me, the Kyuubi said with a smile. We should get going. Iwa's a long trip, and I don't want to have to spend any more time outside the village than necessary, Kurenai stated. All the genin nodded as they set off.